down behind schedule here. The regular meeting of the Board of the Manatee County School District will come to order. If you will please rise and join me on the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Barber? Oh, the superintendent, I'm sorry. For the Sunspra Medallion Award winner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is my honor to introduce the 2018 Sunspra Medallion Award winner, which is an award that is given out yearly. This organization stands for the Sunshine State School Public Relations Association. And we won the Medallion Award for the hashtag We Manatee campaign. As you know, hashtag We Manatee stands for We Are the School District of Manatee County. That saying represents the belief that public education is a reflection of the community it serves and that it takes an entire community to support our students and teachers in the art of teaching and learning. No matter what challenges we face, we strengthen each other when we stand together. The campaign celebrates people in Manatee County who make a difference in public education, as well as those who benefit from it. The winning of the Sunshine State School Public Relations Association Medallion Award spotlights the continued commitment to communication excellence by the district communications team that consists of the following staff. And so with that, I'm going to come down because we want to present some awards to members of that staff.
Thank you.
When I call your name, if you would please come stand here so we can, one, present you the award, and two, we can take pictures. Now, Mike, I don't know how you're doing that from standing in front of the camera. How are you going to take the picture? Oh, Annette, you're now the official picture taker. Mike Barber, Director of Communications, Family, and Community Engagement. Jessica Anderson, Marketing and Communication Specialist, Food and Nutrition Services. Ryan Bremner, Senior Web and Media Developer. Mara Howell, Supervisor, Communication and Grants Manager, Manatee Technical College. Nancy Lawrence, Marketing and Public Relations, Manatee Technical College. Damon May, Marketing and Public Relations, Manatee Technical College. Matt Messenger, Manatee Schools Television, MSTV Supervisor. Melissa Parker, Communications Specialist. Deborah Perry Gambino, Community Engagement Specialist. Brian Stedman, Instructional TV and Program Manager, Manatee Schools Television. This is the team that created I'm sorry, did I miss someone? Who did I miss? Oh, well, Linda, you need to blame your own boss, but I can't blame him because I just walked over your name. Linda Lambert, presenting Communications Public Records Associate. I'm sorry, Linda. This is the team that created hashtag We Manatee. We'd like to present the award to the entire team. I'll just have to talk loud. This award is presented to the communications team in recognition of being awarded the 2018 Sunshine State School Public Relations Association Sunspra Medallion Award for the hashtag We Manatee campaign. I also like to present to Brian Stedman in recognition of being awarded the 2018 Sunshine State School Public Relations Association Medallion Award for hashtag We Manatee. Brian, Melissa, and Matt are the individuals who go out and create these amazing videos highlighting the works of whether it is students, teachers, or community members who impact our school district. So Brian Stedman.
Thanks,
and Matt Messenger. Matt is working. He's back there. So I'm going to ask for the person that I know closest to Matt to come down and accept this on his behalf. Miss Messenger.
Person closest is Olivia.
Thank you. So if we could come in front.
Can I just say a few words, if you don't mind?
Now, you made me stand up and do this presentation.
Oh, I know. Well, I didn't want to present it to myself and our team, but.
But you
I
talk all the
appreciate you
time.
doing that, but what I really want to say.
He talks all the
is-
time.
Right. Is this team is amazing, and every single person on here is so talented, and every single individual on this team made, a serious contribution to winning this award. And this comes on top of winning a national school public relations award last year for Manatee. And as I said, these are extremely talented individuals, and it's a pleasure to work with them, every single day. And I just really respect everything that they do. And just to give you another highlight of one of the things, our new school district website, I know y'all have seen how amazing that is. Ryan Bremner is the person behind that. And Blackboard Connect, they work with over 6,000 school and school district websites, and his website was chosen as one of 5 in the country for a special award from Blackboard, and so we'll find out about that. Manatee is also up for a national award as well. So anyway, I just wanted to say what a great team this is to work with. And I wanted to say one other thing is we could not do the work that we've done without the leadership of Dr. Green. And she is the reigning Superintendent Communicator of the Year, according to Sunspra. And so she really is the inspiration behind these ideas, and she lets us do our work. And I'm not going to be at the next board meeting. So this is my last board meeting with Dr. Green here, and I wanted to say just what a pleasure it's been working for her. As you heard many people say during the workshop, I've been here 12 years, and when the next superintendent arrives, that'll be my 5th full-time superintendent, plus about 5, interim superintendents in that time span as well. And I can say without a doubt that I've received more hugs from Dr. Green than all the other superintendents combined. So we are really going to miss her. But anyway, thank you, Dr. Green.
Yeah, but they were all men, Mike. Who's going to take the picture?
Barbara usually takes the picture, but.
Here. Yeah, squeeze in here.
One gentleman move in here. It's just the guys. Yeah, really.
Smile for me.
Are there any parents out there?
And we'll need 10 8x10 glossy photographs of that.
All right, members, we're now on the approval of the orders of the day. The chair has found good cause to amend the agenda to include all items listed under agenda amendments on the June 12, 2018 agenda, updated June 12, 2018, and posted to the district website. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Is there a second?
I'll second, but I don't have anywhere on here what has been changed. So I would really like to know if there
It
was anything
was-
changed from the workshop.
and I don't see it in print, but we added, after public comments, the naming of an interim superintendent, or a superintendent, for the purposes of authorizing Mr. Dye, the general counsel, and the chair to negotiate an agreement with the person who we expect to name,
Okay.
based on the workshop this morning, or this afternoon. Do you have the language that was inserted in there? It's not showing up on our screen, apparently.
It was a new business item that we put under public comment.
Okay.
The item is approval of interim superintendent. The executive summary states that during the June 12th, 2018 workshop, the board held discussion regarding the appointment of an interim superintendent. The board will continue discussion and potentially vote on their selected candidate.
Okay, thank you.
That is what was added to the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'd like I'm not sure the best way thank you, to revisit this, but let me just do this, I'll see where it goes. I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to include an item to revisit the roles and responsibilities of the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee.
I will second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the agenda, which was seconded. We now have a motion to amend the agenda to, did you say discuss or revisit?
I said to revisit is the word I used, to revisit the roles and responsibilities of the Citizens Financial.
Okay, and that has been seconded. Is there discussion on the motion to amend the agenda?
Yeah.
Mr. Cologne?
What do you mean by revisit? You mean change?
Yes.
I need more clarification.
Yeah, we'll
okay.
save it till the item.
Okay,
yeah, if it
so-
comes up.
Your
I just want
question
to
is-
know if that revisit means change.
Mr. Kennedy for a response.
Yes, it does.
Okay, before I discuss it, you want to discuss it, or? Okay, so.
No, I mean, he made the motion.
So wait
I
a second,
seconded it. I
okay,
don't-
so
we
now.
can discuss it when it gets there.
Okay, so we're on debate of the motion to amend the agenda to, exact wording was to,
Motion to amend the agenda to include an item to revisit the roles and responsibilities of the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee.
okay, so. I'm
Let me-
going to add, well, wait,
Sorry. I was
Okay.
going to suggest a different wording that might make it more clear.
okay, well, I'll, maybe it's best for me to debate before you change the motion. I mean, before you change the language, because I'm really taken aback, because we had multiple meetings around the development and purpose of the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee, which was in the resolution, which we took to the voters, and we debated it at length, and we were quite clear to the voters the purpose of this committee, which I believe voters took into consideration when they approved the referendum. So I guess I'm really taken aback that after the first meeting of the Financial Advisory Committee, before they've even started their work, we want to talk about changing that? For a response.
Sure.
Mr. Kennedy.
If the motion to amend is approved, I will address all of that.
Okay, I will, I would ask that we, at this time, we do not approve that amendment. Is there any further debate? Then, members, we are voting on the motion to amend the agenda to, in essence,
I will use a different word in the motion.
Okay.
I'll say amend instead of revisit. It's just a different verb. But I think it makes it more clear.
what would probably be helpful is if you gave us an idea of how you want to amend it.
I don't think that's the question that's on the table, though.
Okay, then I will again ask the members to, at this point, not take up the issue of amending the purpose of the Citizens Financial Committee after we put it in a resolution and we took it to the voters.
Which I will address if this is approved.
Okay,
call
so
the question.
you have a debate, Mr. Minor?
Well, I think Mr. Kennedy's made a motion. I believe that Mrs. Messenger has seconded that motion.
Right, and we're on debate.
I'm calling the question, Mr. Kennedy's motion to amend the agenda.
That's what I was getting ready to do, take a vote.
Okay.
Okay, members, we are voting on Mr. Kennedy's motion to amend the agenda to amend the Citizens Financial,
Just the roles and responsibilities.
the roles and responsibilities of the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee. We set up for the vote?
We are.
Excuse me, can I
I
get
don't
that
see it on my screen.
read back to me?
I can't vote.
Exactly what we're voting on?
Mr. Kane, would you read your motion to amend?
I will. A motion to amend the agenda to include an item to amend the roles and responsibilities of the Citizens Financial Advisory
You
Committee.
mean discuss it?
Oh, he wants to amend
I
it.
want to amend it, at least start the discussion, anyway.
Starting
No.
discussion.
Mr. Dye?
Yep. Mr. Chair, just to be clear, when Mr. Kennedy changed the language from revisit to amend, technically that's a new motion, so I think we need to ask the seconder if the seconder is okay with that change.
I will still second it. All he's asking is that he wants to discuss it. I think any one of us has the right to do that.
I agree with you. That's why I asked if we're discussing it or we're amending it.
Well,
So
okay,
if we're
so,
amending it, I'm against it. If
my-
we're discussing it, I'm for it.
okay, so my suggestion is if we're going to discuss it, perhaps we should discuss it in a workshop as opposed to in the business meeting.
I think Mr. Minor called to question.
But you
And I
needed
already
to.
seconded it.
Right, okay, all right. So I'm not able to vote on my computer for some reason. I see it. Pardon me?
It's up there, but if you want to take a voice vote, I'll electronically add them over
Can you
here.
see yours?
No.
Can you vote? We can't see it on our computer.
It was a voice vote.
Yep.
So we'll just do a voice vote.
Well,
All in,
excuse me.
you called the question, we're now voting on it.
I called the question, which I understood was a motion by Mr. Kennedy to add to the current agenda, I guess under new business,
I didn't say, but yeah, that's where it would go.
under new business, amendment of the responsibilities of the Finance Advisory Committee created by this board.
Correct.
That's my understanding of his motion. My understanding is that Mrs. Messenger, seconded that motion. If I'm incorrect, please correct me.
His first motion was to amend it to discuss it. Then he chose to change the language, which Mr. Dye appropriately pointed out, that was a different motion, which required the seconder to agree to the change of his motion. And now you've articulated yet a little different twist to the language of the motion. So would you like to amend his motion, or would you like us to work on the restated motion that Mr. Kennedy made to amend the agenda, which the seconder, Vice Chair Messenger, agreed to the change in the language? Do you want to further amend his language, or would you like to vote on his language?
I'm wondering, Mr. Kennedy, if you withdraw your motion, maybe I could say something which I believe you've indicated, reflects what you wish to do, with your motion.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Mr. Kennedy, for a response.
Mr. Minor, Gina would have to withdraw her second, and then I withdraw the motion, correct? That's what you're after?
Yeah,
Okay, Gina,
Fine.
okay.
okay.
I
Now, I
withdraw that.
believe,
I believe Mrs. Messenger, Vice Chair Messenger has withdrawn her second. Mr. Kennedy, you are now withdrawing your original motion to amend, okay? So we are back on the approval of the agenda. It's been moved and it's been seconded. Is there further debate to the agenda as published?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that the agenda as presented be amended to include, as a first item of new business, the board addressing and amending the responsibilities and authority of the Finance Advisory Committee created by this board.
I will second that.
Okay, having been moved and seconded, we have a motion to amend the agenda now as the first order of new business, I think it's what you said?
First item of the new business to amend the Financial Advisory Committee created by this board
Okay.
as item number 1 under new business.
Is there debate on the new motion to amend? It was seconded by Mr. Kennedy. So let the record reflect that Mr. Minor made the motion, Mr. Kennedy seconded the motion to basically amend the purpose and the roles of the Finance Committee, which was taken basically to the voters in approving the referendum. Is there any additional debate? Mr. Cologne, for debate.
I just find it extremely interesting that how anybody could delve what somebody else was thinking without prior knowledge of it. And that's the only issue I'm having here. Mr. Kennedy brought something up I had never heard about, and I assume the rest of the board hadn't either. So I just don't understand where we're going with this.
Okay, I'm going to call the question.
Mr. What is that? Mr. Kennedy.
That's a pretty significant insinuation you just made, so I'd really like to address that.
I wasn't insinuating.
All,
Let's stay on the motion as seconded.
four of the members of this board were in the room, and me for part of it, for the first meeting of the Financial Advisory Committee. And what I saw, and then what I heard later on the recording, is why I am making this motion. So to insinuate that I have violated sunshine.
I didn't insinuate that you violated sunshine.
Oh, okay, well, that's
I
what I heard.
insinuate, I said that I don't understand.
So wait a second. Okay, so
I was pretty
for
clear.
debate, I have a question that would help this. When you just for the sake of trying to get my vote, let's say, are you looking to restrict or reduce the scope of work to be conducted by the Citizen Financial Advisory Committee?
I am looking to amend the agenda at the moment. But to answer your question, my goal in this motion, when we get to it, is to focus the committee on their intended business and what we told the community before the referendum, what their job was going to be, and nothing more. But right now, I just want to amend the agenda.
Okay.
Call the vote.
Mr. Cologne?
In that case, I will be happy to vote for it if all we're going to do is discuss it. So that's fine. I'm all for
But
discussion.
the motion was to amend
The agenda.
No, the motion.
No, I'm not amending the
I
committee, I'm
think,
amending the
Mr. Meyer, would
agenda.
you read your motion again
So
for the
if we're
benefit of the
amending
board?
committee, That's one thing. If we're amending the agenda, I'm all in
No,
favor.
well, the motion is to amend the agenda to amend the purpose and role of the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee. So it's not to discuss it. I was more than willing to have a workshop to discuss it. I mean, they only had one meeting, which was principally an introduction and an organizational meeting. Now, what they're asking to do before they even do any work, I believe what they are asking to do is to amend the purpose and the role of the Citizens Financial Committee, which is a pretty big issue, given the fact that we need to conduct the business of the board and select an interim superintendent who may have their own ideas about the charge of the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee. But my understanding, Mr. Cologne, is that they want to amend the agenda to put on the agenda to amend the role and purpose of the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee. It's not just to discuss it.
Once again,
Call the question.
I think we have 3 votes, so why don't we just vote?
All right, Mr. Minor has called the question. Our boards are up now on our screens. All in favor of Mr. Minor's motion, which was seconded by Mr. Kennedy, to add on to the agenda to amend I believe, the role and purpose of the Citizens Financial Committee, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no.
if this is to amend the role of the Citizens Advisory Committee, then I vote no. If it's to discuss something, I have no problem with discussion.
Okay. All right.
clear.
Show the agenda for tonight's meeting amended to include as the first order of new business a motion to amend I think it's the role and purpose of the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee, which basically was approved by the voters. All right, members, we have amended the agenda. Is there any other debate or any further amendments to the agenda as amended? Okay, hearing none. Members, if you are in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
All
As
right,
amended.
show the agenda approved. Reports and presentations. Audit Committee report from Dr. Susan Agruso. Come on down.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The Audit Committee met on May 21st, 2018. We have our next meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Our first order of business was to hear from the external auditor, Moore, Stevens, and Lovelace, talking about this year's audit. Mr. Joel Knopp and Mr. Jeff Wolf were present for that discussion. They will be presenting to us, according to the plan, the audit of the school building accounts in October, which will be brought to this board in November. That is the schedule. And then we expect the draft CAFR to be finished in mid-December, which would give the Audit Committee a little bit of time to review it, because we have all 200 pages to read. And that should be presented to the Audit Committee in draft form and then presented to the board at the end of January. At last year's audit, when we discussed the work that had been done by MSL, we had made several requests of them for changes we would like to see this year. They did discuss those with us and confirmed that they would be taken care of. Those changes included that we wanted to have much more discussion in the management discussion and analysis portion, and that is actually produced by the district. The district has said they are working already to add more information, basically to sing the praises of the district, since it's a perfect opportunity to say, this is the money we're spending, this is all the great stuff we're doing with it, so we're expecting that to happen. We've also asked them to ensure, which is why Mr. Knopp was present, that a senior member of the firm is actually participating in this audit, reviewing the data, as well as being here for the board presentation, so that we know that it has been managed properly throughout the firm. We've also asked them to give us more discussion in the management letter. Last year's letter was a little brief, and we wanted to see more discussion of any of the recommendations that they raised for you. And we've also asked them to make some modifications in the footnotes to better reflect what is the current practice in external auditing. They will be meeting with us again, probably at the end of August, at which time they will have finished the interim work for some of the audit, and then they can better inform us of any changes or additional work they wish to do prior to the completion of the audit this year. In fiscal year 18, we are continuing to ask them to do all of the school accounts. They are required to look at all of the school building accounts. There's a lot of them. We did, however, and we've had this conversation in the past, talked about the possibility of changing that workload, not having to look at every school every year is a different way to do it, but still be in compliance. So over the next several months, and specifically next January, we're going to look to see if there is a more cost-effective way to do that work, be in compliance, but at the same time be able to put more time and attention, on those schools that are deemed at higher risk. Higher risk would be any school that has a lot of audit findings, and those have been significantly reduced. I believe there were 8 last year. And also at schools, like a high school that has lots of transactions, lots of cash, those kinds of things where you really want to make sure there isn't additional auditing being done there. Whereas other schools that, just have everything's fine, everything's working properly, you can do less investigation in those particular places. So we'll take that back up at the end of this audit after it's reported to you in January 2019 and make some recommendations to you at that time. We have also had discussions with the internal auditor, Carr, Riggs, and Ingram. We had asked them when the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee had reported to the board that they wanted follow-up information on repeated audit findings. We had asked them to look into those. They have already done the one on bank recs, which has been taken care of and continues to be in compliance. They have also now finished their work in looking at the IT finding concerning user authentication and data loss prevention, and they have confirmed that that work has also been done in satisfaction of that particular audit finding. They are, as part of the ERP work, they're finishing up looking at the payroll question that was raised. The committee also discussed with them the work that's been done this year, as well as the hours they have spent in the audit. They were contracted for 2,380 hours of work. Just as a reminder, we had raised that level from the year before because of the ERP, and we wanted them to spend a significant amount of their time looking at the implementation of ERP and working with the district to make sure that implementation was being done well. They spent 1,085.5 hours on ERP. That is what is anticipated to be done by the end of this month, and 303.5 hours on IT. So the bulk of their time, almost 1,400 hours, were spent right there on those 2 projects. They anticipate at this point about 267 hours will not be used this year. That translates into about $50,000. So for next year, in discussing their contract, we still have a lot of ERP work to do. It'll be implemented at the beginning of July, and then there has to be follow-up done. There's a lot of IT work that still needs to be done. Plus, we would like to get to looking at the other audits that we had delayed because we wanted to focus on those 2 projects. So we have asked them to reduce their hours for next year to 1,990, and they will be able to focus on those main issues that we have. There was one billing dispute that did occur because of the intense work on ERP that happened back in March when the invoice was submitted. Mr. Serrana and Mr. Shin did discuss this. There was some conversation going back and forth. Mr. Shin did offer a compromise and actually reduce the billing by $6,000, and so that was all agreed to, so that billing is taken care of. But also in recognition that this could happen again, just as you're looking at things, 2 things will change in the future. There will be much more detailed invoices in response to a request from the district. Shin and Company, or CRI now, did give a much more detailed invoice to account for all of those hours. They will continue that as practice from now on. And there's also, in their new contract, will be language to make sure that there is a process in place if there should ever again be a billing dispute. As for that contract, as I said, we have asked to have that contract focus on 1,990 hours. The work that they will be doing mainly will be follow-up on ERP. They will continue to be doing a review of the IT audit findings. They also are looking to do a post-audit review of MTC. It's been a while since we have looked at that. We just want to make sure that work continues. And of course, starting July 1, they have to look at the sales surtax because that has been a charge to the audit committee. We have asked the internal auditor to do that review for us. So with all of that, in their draft contract, we have asked them to include more language on the specific scope and reporting that they will do next year. They've added the dispute resolution language, and that contract will be presented to you on June 26th. The audit committee asks that you, or does recommend to you that you approve that contract with the changes I have mentioned. Also, just want to point out to you that as part of discussing what we would be doing next year with internal audit, we did review the 5-year audit cycle plan that was presented to you. In doing that, there were 2 audits we had planned to do, because one of the things we want to do is get on a 5-year cycle and look at all aspects of district operation. We were looking at exceptional student education and purchasing and bidding, but again, because of the intensity of the programs for ERP and IT, we have suggested that we put those off for 1 more year. We will, however, have to look at those. There are some changes Dr. Hopes shared with us that were passed by the legislature this year for increased auditing by the internal auditor, and that includes exactly what we've been talking about, looking at every aspect of the district's programs. We will be discussing that more tomorrow, and we'll make some suggestions and revisions to that plan and present that to you in the future. Those new changes go into effect in July 1st, 2019. One of the issues that will be coming up soon, because we are doing that audit and we are looking at the end of year budget adjustments that are done, and you know that has been a concern of ours in the past, where lots of adjustments are done at the end of the year. So Ms. Jenkins did come and talk with the committee. She has indicated to us that they have been making adjustments as is appropriate all year long. But she does caution us that because we are still using JDE, and there are also some state requirements, there will still be a number of those adjustments that have to be made at the end of this year, and a lot of that should be addressed once ERP is in place, the new ERP is in place. Mr. Blitzko did a very thorough review for the audit committee about the sales surtax. We had a continued discussion about his particular report at our last meeting, and one of the suggestions that the audit committee would like to make to the district, there are quarterly reports produced for the sales surtax fund. There's also one for the sales tax bond fund and for capital projects in general, the all fund. So those 3 quarterly reports are already being done. We are suggesting to you that they be part of the financial statements that are brought to the board, and that they actually be posted on the board's dashboards, on the district's dashboard, so that everybody can see. We're very interested in making sure that everything connected to the sales surtax is transparent. We don't want anybody coming back when this has to be reauthorized and questioning 10, 15 years from now, where was that money spent? We want right up front that everybody knows every year exactly where that money is being spent, and that has been spent properly, which is the charge you have given to our committee. And the last thing, 2 of our members, Mr. Blitzko and Mary Foreman. Mr. Blitzko is here, sitting in his 2nd row. I didn't see Ms. Foreman earlier this evening. They are both, their terms are expiring at the end of this month. They have, however, agreed to new 3-year terms, so we ask you for that support, and we do want to thank them. They have been on this committee from the beginning. Their insights and information support of the district are invaluable, and we do want to thank them for all of that work. We did ask the district at our last meeting, because we are still down a person. We did ask the district to put out an ad and see if we could get some other folks who are interested. We've had 4 people respond to the ad. We have 2 resumes that will actually be going to the committee tomorrow for discussion. So we thank the district for that support, and we look forward to adding number 7 to our committee. That concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Yes, sir? Oh,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Cologne, for a
are
question.
you still taking applications?
Yes.
Okay, good, because I had someone call me today
Okay, ask them to submit. You
asking,
never
and I
know.
said, submit the application anyway.
That'd be great, thank you.
He mentioned the deadline was Friday or something, but
We had asked because we're meeting tomorrow,
Yeah.
and so we wanted to review
I
them.
told him
Yes.
to scan it and send it to you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any further questions for Dr. Agruso?
Thank you. for
And as
your work.
usual, thank you
Thank you
for
very
your
much.
leadership and your hard work. We appreciate it. Mr. Serrana, ERP update.
Present to you.
Hello, how are you today? We have 19 days until the ERP system goes live. I know, emoji eyes. I just thought I'd give you a quick update and let you know where we're at. Everything's going well. We still have some things to resolve. We have a lot of data to convert. But we do have one success. Campus Solutions admissions application went live on Friday, June 1st as planned. We have 534 students who have applied through the application process already, so that is a success. We are in the middle of UAT, I should say the very end of UAT. We are resolving the defects that we still have outstanding. There are a couple things with payroll. There are a couple things with GL. Some of it is a learning issue. We think that a couple of issues have failed, but in reality, we did not have a couple of the chart setups right. We've had over 165 users participate in UAT, executing over 700 scenarios and logging 3,700 hours worth of time.
Mr. Cologne?
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry,
What's
user
UAT?
acceptance testing.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry. User acceptance testing. So basically, this is the phase of the project where all the subject matter experts and all the teams of people in the district that will actually use the system, we are turning the system over to them, so to speak, walking them through the different scenarios and having them do all the testing for the most part themselves. We have had those people involved all along, but the BAs, business analysts, and the people on the project team have done a lot more of the testing up until this cycle. We have also completed the post-go live SharePoint site, which basically will be the information available to all of the employees and the users of the system, all the job aids, all the training materials that have been designed so far, all the demos of the day that have been going out are all available on that website. So you can all go out and look at them. Some key upcoming events. We have to finalize UAT this week. Our goal was to have it signed off on by tomorrow. We still have 53 outstanding items minus the 7 we resolved today, so we're down to 46. Most of those are GL related, and I have all the confidence in the world that cyber will get those resolved. Payroll has been going very well. We ran payroll cycles twice. We had a couple of issues with the splitting of money, which is back to GL a little bit. It was splitting and splitting and splitting and splitting and then failing, so that we are resolving. We are also implementing the millage impacts. We came to final conclusions and decisions of how that will work last week, so that requires some system changes, some queries, and some reports that will be available for that. Our security team did the vulnerability scans on the ERP servers. There were some critical items, some very high level, and then some medium or lower priority items that have all been addressed to go live on the application system. They will run the vulnerability scan again before July 1 for all the other modules and make sure that those items are cleared before we go live. We have had 2 SMEs that are resigning or retiring, subject matter experts. So we will be finding new people to be subject matter experts in that area. And we had 1 business analyst, the GL business analyst, who has resigned. She's retiring for the 2nd time. The support that we may need from you, we have some post-go live job descriptions, I think, that are on your agenda for tonight that I would appreciate your approval for. These people will help us in keeping track and working on the system in the future and keeping up on all the data and the system configurations. And then in the next month or so, we will have the managed services contract, which will be cyber people helping us as much as we need going forward to make sure that we have knowledge transfer that is appropriate. I would like to give you just a couple things on training, since that has been a big issue. We have trained 3,234 people so far. There were 2,991 employees that went through employee self-service since the employee self-service went live on May 29th, which is a lot of people. I commend them all for getting in the system, doing the 2 hours worth of training. It is available online, so they can go back through it as many times as they need to when they get ready to start clocking in and clocking out and asking for absence requests and stuff like that. There are an additional 801 people already registered for future classes. So our goal at this point, the employee roster shows about 6,000 employees. So we're a little over almost 60% of the people that have been through. We are on budget. We will be spending just about every dime trying to get all of those business process and training materials developed. And that is about it. Do you guys have any questions?
Okay, questions? Mr. Meyer?
Tell us about the SMEs. Have we got some people lined up to replace them?
So one of the SMEs is the payroll supervisor, so his job is posted. Vashonda Evans is our payroll business analyst. She will be working with the payroll people that are left to make sure that they know how to run through and walk through the payroll system. I do know that the payroll supervisor is a very high priority position, so Ms. Jenkins and her team of interviewers will work on that as quickly as possible. The good thing about the new system is that Vashonda probably knows more about the system than even the payroll people because she's been working on it for 2 years. So I am not worried for our sake getting payroll run in the new system. Plus cyber will still be here for the first 3 payrolls.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Around payroll, I understand there's been some, changes in staff. Were there any problems with payroll this past Friday?
I'm
I mean,
not
was it
in
all
charge
accurate?
of current payroll, so I can't answer that question. That would be a Mr. Serrano question.
Were there
Is there
any
any
issues with payroll on
specifics?
Friday?
There was issues with people reading their pay stubs, but not payroll specific. Unless you have an example you want us to research, I'll be happy to do
No,
that on your behalf.
just a question.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work and I'm sure late hours. All right, members, the leaves are in your board packet. We will go to public comment. Vice Chair Messenger.
All right. Public comment is not an open forum to discuss matters unrelated to education, to support or oppose candidates for public office, or to engage in commercial speech attempting to sell a service or product to the school board or public. Also, public comment is not a forum to attack individual school system employees or board members. Any such complaints should be submitted in writing to the superintendent for appropriate handling. Finally, this is not an open forum for addressing issues involving individual students. Because of privacy concerns, such issues should be submitted in writing to the superintendent for appropriate handling. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to address the board. This is a business meeting of the school board, and the public expects that we conduct it in an orderly, efficient, effective, and dignified manner. We request that speakers keep this in mind when you're making comments. We also request that the audience keep that in mind and not demonstrate approval or disapproval of what a speaker has said by clapping or booing. The board appreciates the public's input and will listen attentively, consider each comment, and usually will not respond, enter into debate, or answer questions during comments on agenda items or during the public comments section. And with that, I will start with Mr. Horner, and after that, it will be Tara Bergstrom-Marino. So, James Horner?
Good evening, Superintendent Green, Chairman Hopes, board members. I am James Horner, and it is my honor and privilege to be principal of Abel Elementary. I think most of you have been out to the school. I'm here to say thank you so much for Dr. Green and her leadership. Her skill and her leadership has just been amazing, and we will miss her very, very much. It's almost going to be, it's been so sudden, it's almost going to be like a grieving process. I know I'm in denial. But because of that, I think the close association of Ms. Saunders to Dr. Green and the wonderful things that she's brought to us, it is my opinion that she's got the trust and the love and the loyalty, almost as much as Dr. Green, to lead us into the next year while you research for the very best superintendent to take Dr. Green's place. So I wish you would consider that. Thank you.
Tara Bergstrom Marino, and then afterwards will be Mr. Gibolina.
Good evening. So I originally requested to speak because I wanted to express my concern about the Guardian program. My uncle is now the chief of police in Cape Cod, Mass, and I grew up hearing about his career as a police officer and the daily pressure he is under and the lifetime of experience that he has dealing with high pressure, high risk situations. Bringing someone off the street and putting them in a bit of training is in no way going to be nearly as effective as an experienced police officer. The other important consideration is that having a professional, experienced police officer in an elementary school provides an opportunity for early intervention. These police officers can be that extra support in the school to work alongside our guidance counselors and mental health professionals to identify children who are struggling early and hopefully work with them while they are still in these more influential years. I was encouraged to read that through your hands-on training, you have also determined the necessity for police officers. My only question on this topic is it appears you aren't able to make it happen for this school year. So what are you going to do to ensure the quality of these guardians, given that the very short amount of time you have to review applications, interview, onboard, train, and then allocate to our elementary schools? You can answer later. The other thing I wanted to bring up, since I have the slot in my whole 3 minutes, is related to iReady and the FSA. So as a manager at Bank of America and as an engineer by trade, I appreciate the goal of finding objective ways to measure our students, our teachers, and our school. This is something that I struggle with in my day job, where we try to objectively measure developers. First, we looked at lines of code. That resulted in developers deploying crack code to production. Next, we tried number of defects promoted to production, resulted in developers wanting to take the small projects that were simple, and a lack of motivation for folks to take on those large, complex projects. I say this to you so that you know that I appreciate the desire for objectivity and the complexity to get it right. However, what I don't appreciate is the lack of iterating on a solution that I assume has had unintended consequences. Our children only have a limited number of years in your schools, and kind of kicking down the can down the road to the next year, or looking at it next year, or iterating next year and then the following year really has adverse reactions on our students. So those consequences that I mentioned are being that our teachers in schools are now motivated to teach to the test and specifically teach the kids with the potential to make the largest gains. In my opinion, this measurement is pushing our children towards average instead of exceptional, which is what I hope for my children. I ask you to take the time to look at iReady and the FSA pressure that is being put on our schools and teachers, and if there is potentially a more effective solution that does not have such negative side effects. That's number 2. And then 3, while I still have 8 seconds, there's a need to fix the announcement system at Willis Elementary. It seems like this would be a very large safety issue and an audit issue. However, it remains broken for an entire year. Thanks.
Mr. Gibolina, and then Dale Goulden.
Wow, two of them. Good evening. My name is Glenn Gibolina, taxpayer, community activist. I want to revisit some of the policies, the truthfulness, the accountability, just the way this district operates. And one of the things that I'm involved with is renewable energy. I strongly suggest that we get a third-party expert in here to review all the projects, because obviously the ones that are giving you advice, you're not getting a truthful presentation. This was the presentation for the North River High School. Looks good on paper. Unfortunately, there were some false facts in there. These are rates from FP&L from their website, a click away. That's all it takes. So when the architect comes by and says on the second page
it's 14 cents, it's a big fat lie. And I don't appreciate it that this information has not been vetted properly and nobody caught it. So I dug a little farther and I did a records request. I said, well, let me see what the rates are before I went to there. So this was a record request for a bill. That's what I got. Can anybody make any sense of this bill? They redacted everything. So then I went down to Manatee Way and I wanted to see the bill itself. And they wouldn't give it to me. So you violated the law. There's some serious, serious problems that nobody caught. And I think that every piece of information this board gets should be vetted to the best of its ability. And I just don't see that happening at all by the administration. So I think we need to do a better job. I'm not happy about this at all. And to put the safeguards in place, we need to put a third-party expert. Why not? If the architect could be this far off, taking an Orlando rate that's not even close to ours, and pulling the wool over your guys' eyes and saying, well, it's 14 cents when it's probably half that, it's time to bring in an outside expert to vet the information that goes across his desk before it gets to you. So I'm very disappointed. That needs to be revisited, and I'll talk about the other schools coming up. But North River, based on those lies, the deceitfulness, and the fraud that was brought around this board, needs to be revisited, and you need to bring a third-party expert in, and you need to vet the bills and the payback with my money, with the taxpayers' money. And I'm going to put this into the record.
Thank you. Dale Goulden, and then Larry Simmons is after Dale.
Good evening. Dale Golden, president of local solar contractor Solar Direct and also a Manatee County taxpayer. Further to Mr. Gibolina's comments, I also viewed the redacted bills that he received for Bayshore High School, and that particular facility uses almost $29,000 worth of electricity each year, which is 369,600 kilowatt hours at a rate of 8 cents, not 14 cents. With some very rudimentary solar engineering, it would probably take a system of about 700 collectors, 220 kW at a cost of about $440,000 with a potential return without any subsidies or any type of creative financing of about a 15-year return on investment to the school board. I wanted to emphasize that in 2016, with the presidential elections in November and the Amendment 4 for solar in August, that we truly live in the Sunshine State. We know that better than 80% of the population here, voting population here in Florida, are pro-solar. We recently were contacted by Sarasota County within the last several months to do a study on all of the county buildings to show what their potentials for solar energy might be on those buildings. So we sit in an area here where we have a very proactive St. Petersburg, very proactive Sarasota County, and I'd like to see our Sarasota County, or our Manatee County, fit in with the rest of local Florida here and place some emphasis in this area. Certainly the public's interested in it, may very well be a good investment. The last thing that we did for the county was the Turning Points project that we did through the city of Bradenton. That's been many, many years ago, and then I guess since then we had no part in it, but they put a system on the city hall. Probably be nice, maybe if you folks even were to get some report as to what that system has done for them. and might very well do for the school board. So thank you very much. And please don't overlook the local experts, because we're here to help. It's our county and our school board. Thank you very much.
Larry Simmons, and then Heather Wallace.
Mrs. Messenger, I would rather speak when we come up to the agenda item
The new motion.
That's possible.
That's okay with me. Is it okay with everybody
don't have
else?
public comment that
Mr.
time,
Dye
so
is
don't-
saying that's fine, since that's a new added.
Madam Chair, or Mr. Chair, Mrs. Messenger, when you add something new that hasn't been published before,
We're gonna
I
open it up
recommend
anyways.
leeway, yeah.
Right, you allow it.
All right, well, I will add you to the list. Heather Wallace, and then Walter Miller. I'm sorry? Did she turn in paperwork to speak for a group?
I don't have paperwork for a group, no.
I don't think I'll use them. Okay, it's fine.
Okay, thank you, Heather.
I did sign up for a group online when I signed up to speak, so I don't know why you got my name and not my group, but that's fine. It's ironic, not to take away from anyone who got the awards tonight, but it's ironic that we're giving communication awards tonight, because there's been a communication breakdown. I created a presentation that I asked Mr. Kennedy about, I believe over a month ago. He told me that would not be a problem. I read the public comment directions. There's nothing in there that forbids me from doing that. Mr. Minor and several board members suggested that I come back and speak to you. I've spoken many times, so there's not much new that I need to say. So honestly, this was a benign presentation that was simply going to be a recap of things that have happened within this meeting. So I was told after arriving, and I have been out of state for about 5 days, so I was not done with the presentation until today. I got childcare so that I could finish the presentation for you tonight. And then when I get here in the rain, I'm told I cannot show the presentation. This is strange to me because I have seen members of the public do this on many occasions. And like I said, I am a rule follower. In addition to being a member of the public, I am going into my 23rd year teaching in Manatee County Schools, and I have signed a whole lot of technology agreements. So to suggest, the first explanation I was given was that you were concerned that I'm a security risk, that's laughable. Okay? Not only have I signed agreements, but I abide by them, which again, this district does not. Okay? You released the Social Security numbers of not only all the employees. Oh no, oops, they did it again. They did it a few months, when was it, guys? Because I informed you all in email that you released the Social Security numbers of all of the teachers in the grievance group. The superintendent was notified, but to use Mr. Teitelbaum's favorite word, crickets. The board was notified. I did not want to speak on this issue publicly because we have to be so careful about us still dropping the ball. But to suggest that I can't speak because I'm a security risk, when the person who had my Social Security number never should have had it. I have an ID number that could have been used, and that individual, unlike my presentation that I stand by and has been fully vetted, stands up here with an unlimited amount of time and presents things over and over again with inconsistencies. I have never stood up here and been disrespectful and used the word lie. I have said the information is incorrect. The information is incomplete. The information is inaccurate. The information was not relayed in a timely manner. Crickets. Okay? Now, it's my understanding that somebody said, oh, we do want to fix it, but not on Heather Wallace's timeline. Really? Tell me something I don't know. My timeline was free. Would have cost the district nothing. Okay? But the other reason I was given as not being able to show it tonight is because you're scared of what I'm going to say. Do you ever know what people are going to say in public comment?
Thank you. Walter Miller, and then Brian Sneed.
Good evening. I am Walter Miller, And in 1973, I became the assistant superintendent in Leon County, Tallahassee. 1979, I came to Manatee, where I was assistant superintendent until 1995, when I went to Pinellas as associate superintendent. I also served on this school board for 12 years. I also taught graduate school level finance, and I'm here tonight to give you a message based on that experience. I've seen it from every side, but here is my concern. My concern is that this board charge this committee, and that this committee knows very specifically what that charge is, because I am of the impression that that has expanded. And I believe very firmly that part of the problem that the school district had back in when Dr. McGonigal was superintendent was because the committees that were functioning at that time went away from what their duty was, and they tore down and wore down the staff, the finance staff, particularly the superintendent and the assistant superintendent at that time. Now, I know that Mr. Serrana has a very busy July. I think the tax rolls start coming in, and he has a staff that needs to be focused on getting the budget. I rode by Palmetto High today, and I looked on the sign, and it said, "School opens August 13th. Now, the buses better be rolling. That budget better be approved. You're not like every other government in town. They have an October fiscal year to September 30th. Your fiscal year, unfortunately, is July 1. And that's what the legislature does for you and to you. So I ask you, please, make sure that the committee knows what their charge is, and please monitor that committee to make sure that they do not go beyond what their charge is and cause great problems for these two people who need to have schools open and your budget ready to be approved by the school board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brian Sneed, and then Stephen Motkowitz. I swear one day I'll get it right. Did I do it? I did it that time.
Good evening.
That happens to me.
Yeah, you know, this is like the third time this has happened with these glasses, so there we go. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Brian Sneed. I'm a resident of Manatee County and a very concerned citizen. The reason I'm here to speak today is regarding the terrible problem of random violence in our schools and what our students and faculty are facing every day in the schools. I represent a group of parents and grandparents that share these feelings. I sent a film to the board with a program attached that involves a facilitated discussion and also a pledge that students would sign. And I know that there are certain programs like this in place now, but the particular program that we've put together, we really believe will evoke the right response from students, and get them to understand that they really are responsible for their own personal safety and that of their fellow students and faculty every day, and not necessarily to look to school administrators, teachers, on-site staff for their personal safety 100%. They've got to be part of the solution. And they've got to understand that we need their help as much as they need ours. I mean, really, they know who the bullies are. They know who the at-risk students are. They need to tell us. And this is obviously, not a new message, but I don't know that it's really happening the way it really should be in the school system. You talk to students, and they say, well, they don't really believe that they're being heard. They don't believe that it's a good use of their time to tell people, what they're seeing. They don't feel that they're getting the right response. We tested this program with Centerstone Behavioral Health, and they thought enough of it to put together their own survey, which was really impressive to us. And there's about 5 questions that they ask And through the course of the test that went over about 6 weeks, we got a lot of surveys back, and I went through them. Actually, another member also went through them, and we pulled out some interesting comments that not only depict that these kids are really not really coming through and talking to the authorities the way they should be, but also the ones that are really kind of at risk, not necessarily being identified. One answer to a question was, did you relate to any of the characters in this film? So that the program is a short film, 9 minutes. It's about bullying from the victim's perspective, and one of the responses was, I feel like I can relate to the main character because he came from a difficult family and he got bullied a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Sneed.
Here's a kid that's getting bullied a lot. I hear you. But I just wanted to kind of bring this up because I understand that, I really need to be speaking to the mental health and student safety people, but I wanted to make these comments tonight.
Thank you. Come on down.
Dr. Green and board members, Chairman Hopes, you asked a question about payroll, and I would like to speak on the Citizens Financial Committee, but I'll wait till that comes up on the agenda. But as far as payroll, I received 4 direct deposit notices for this paycheck, and I think one of the problems that staff and teachers and everyone has is that when one of those issues happens, it's not that we can't read the direct deposit notification, it's which one is the correct one. I think what people are looking for is when that happens, we'd like an email or even an phone call with a message saying, hey, listen, there was a problem, this is what happened, and this is why you got 4 direct deposit notifications, and the one you should be looking for is, I don't know, A, B, C, or D. In my case, it was, I believe, C. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
look forward to hearing you on the new agenda item.
And that concludes public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Messenger. All right, members, we are now on the item that was added following our workshop around the identification of a superintendent to serve during an interim period as we begin the process for soliciting and recruiting a permanent superintendent. So, do I have a motion to authorize the board's general counsel and chair to enter in negotiations with a individual? The name that appeared to have the most support was Cynthia Saunders for a superintendent contract effective no later than July 1st, 2018.
So moved.
Having been moved by Mr. Cologne, is there a second?
No, I was gonna say, I'll second that.
Okay, having been moved and seconded, we're now on a motion to authorize the board's attorney, Mr. Dye, and the chair to enter into negotiations with Cynthia Saunders for a superintendent contract effective no later than July 1st, 2018, to serve as an interim superintendent. Is there a discussion? Mr. Dye?
Mr. Chair, one item you may want to ask Mrs. Saunders if she wants to enter into
Well, that's a good.
negotiations,
It's been moved and seconded.
Wait,
I'm getting
you
to
mean
that.
she counts?
I'm getting to that. Mrs. Saunders, are you interested in being considered and entering into negotiations to serve as the superintendent for an interim period of time?
Yes, I would.
Having heard from Mrs. Saunders, is there a debate, members?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Minor?
Okay, yeah. On the agenda I have, the next item was approval of minutes.
If you look at your screen following the agenda as it was amended, it should show up on your screen. Item number 7, following public comments, is the new business item, approval of an interim superintendent.
Okay, well, I don't have that on the screen, but I'll take your word for it, and I guess number 8, I guess, is approval of minutes now.
Well, we need to, yes, correct.
I wasn't given a new paper copy.
I wasn't either. It's on the computer screen.
Well, that's great. I think it would be nice if board members were given a copy of the paper agenda.
I will ask the clerk to do that in the future, if she has time.
Okay, I would like to, I think that what the, chair said with respect to our discussions this afternoon, it was clear that Mrs. Saunders had broad support, and there was several candidates for interim that were very good, highly qualified, and they should be applauded for making themselves available. I had, concerns, I still have concerns about this process of selecting an interim. I asked about how publicized it was for this need, and I understood the response was, well, at the last board meeting, it was announced we're going to need an interim. Now that is, to my mind, giving a lot of notice to the community, the state, or the country that we'd be looking for someone to be our superintendent. And I have in no way, questioned the dedication and qualifications of Mrs. Saunders, but there wasn't any interview process of who we're talking about to be a superintendent for an indeterminate amount of time. I don't think that's the best process. I think that all of those who are interested, deserved an interview, by this board. They weren't given it. They weren't asked, well, why do you think that you're best suited for this? There wasn't discussion of the qualifications this afternoon. And I really question that process. I spoke in favor of, with great respect for Mrs. Saunders, and she and I get along great. I have great respect for her. Part of my pitch, and I'm going to repeat it, we hire her as superintendent. It's going to be interim, but she is superintendent if we go through with this motion that's been made. Well, then we're talking about then having to hire, a deputy superintendent. If we get someone else as superintendent, then I guess maybe we demote who was selected to be deputy superintendent and put her back there, or just what? That's why I spoke, one of the reasons I spoke in favor of a woman that we heard earlier tonight, Dr. Susan Agruso, who has a PhD. She's had maybe 30 years of education in various roles, as a superintendent, an actual superintendent of schools up in New York, several schools. She's received all sorts of awards for curriculum. She has a doctorate degree from University of Alabama, a master's in education. She has a BS in physics from New York Institute of Technology. This is someone who's headed our audit committee and very much involved with the ERP and knows our district very well. She's local. She's smart. She knows what's going on in this district. And when we hire a full-time superintendent, she's going to just step aside. And it keeps in place programs that we have instituted that Dr. Green has, been instrumental, and Mrs. Saunders have been instrumental in effecting. And that's why I'm making a pitch to reconsider, having someone who's highly qualified, who's willing to do it, to, step in and do this important job of being our superintendent for an indefinite period of time. Her resume includes, writings, publications, all sorts of things like that, which I don't have the resume of Mrs. Saunders. I'm sure it's impressive, but I don't think you can beat this. Anybody in this room, she's had more experience in education, public education, than anybody in this room by far. And that's my pitch. I think that we ought to delay this. I think to the next meeting, I think we ought to have interviews of the candidates before we go ahead. It's important we have someone in place on July 1 because Dr. Green's leaving on the 30th. But I don't think we have to do this tonight. I think that deliberate speed would include having an interview process of all those who wish to be candidates, and maybe at a workshop before the next meeting, and then at the next meeting, make the decision. So, Mr. Chair, thank you. Those are my thoughts. Thank you for allowing me to express them.
Thank you, Mr. Minor. Mr. Cologne.
Okay, let's get down to reality. We have 18 days until we have to have a superintendent in place. 5 of those days are weekends, okay? Last time I checked, 18 minus 5, 13 days. Okay, now, he's proposing, my colleague, who I appreciate his sentiments, but I think that we cannot interview more than one individual, vet them, go through their resume, check their references, everything else that's required, background checks, in 13 days, and have them in place by July 1st. If you can do that, you're pretty good. I've hired numerous individuals for positions from a major corporation, and we can't do that because every candidate must be thoroughly vetted. And I am not suggesting that there's anything there. I'm simply saying you go through a process, and that process generally takes more than 13 days. You send for references, you get feedback from past employment. That takes time. Not necessarily our time, but time for other people to respond. My proposal, as I've said earlier, we have someone in place here who can hit the ground running for the 3rd time, and I think that it's prudent of us to save the district's time and money to just move forward with that at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cologne. Any other debate, Mr. Kennedy?
Yeah, if you're not aware, we talked about this at length at the workshop, so a little bit of a rehash of what I'm about to say. But we have really in front of us 3 really solid potential interims: Cindy, Dr. Russo, and Doug, Mr. Wagner, Mrs. Saunders, excuse me. Didn't mean to be informal. Dr. Russo knows how much respect I have for her and her experience and not only the work that she does, but the manner with which she goes about her work. And this is in no way, and I think you know this, a reflection on me thinking anything less than the Most High about Dr. Russo. However, as I said at the workshop, over the past few weeks since this conversation began, I think we have all been inundated with feedback of varying degrees of heat and and opinion. But really over the past, and we do, certainly we as elected officials, we are expected to make decisions, but I think we are also expected to make those decisions based on what we hear from our constituents, and in our case, from the people who have to live with our decisions, our employees. And especially over the past couple of weeks, the people at the director level, at the principal level, at the AP level, came out, pretty forcefully and with strong support and strong words for Mrs. Saunders. And Jeannie, you said at the workshop that, I don't want to misquote you, but I'll paraphrase, there's nothing wrong with a strong female leader. And I think sometimes we have to check ourselves a little bit, because we have different expectations for a strong male leader, and we have not expectations, but we look at a strong male leader differently than we look at a strong female leader. And I'm not going to go down this road, but
In that you can expect more from the female, right? That's what you're trying to say?
That is what I'm saying.
Let's,
Hold on, I still got 250 left.
I'm throwing you a ladder.
Just a suggestion for Mr. Kennedy that he might want to state that it's his own personal opinion.
Yeah, that goes without saying. But no, I bring this up because I think, I guess I'm saying we as men need to kind of check our privilege a little bit. Because, like I said, there's one set of standards for a strong male leader, and there's a different set of standards or opinions about a strong female leader. And the one thing that has come out about Cindy is that she can be tough. She can be tough on her people, but she's an incredibly hard worker, and she will help people get there. And I'm trying to say something nice about women, Gina. I know I'm fumbling this horribly, but I think everybody here gets my point. That what was my? No, I'm just kidding.
You jumped back in.
I think some of that. I'll just be frank. I think some of that negativity comes from that perspective of those different expectations for male and female leaders. And so anyway, long story short, as I said at the workshop, I support Cindy for the interim position, or if we want to be semantic about it, the superintendent position. But we all know what we're talking about, and this is a transition until this board or the next board can decide what they want to look for. We can cross that bridge when we come to it. And again, I think we have 3 votes for this, so let's go.
Is it all, Mr. Kennedy?
Yeah, I'm going to stop digging. Yeah, I'm done.
I will tell you, Dr. Grusso knows I reached out to her quite some time ago to ask her to think about the possibility that we would be confronted with a need for an interim superintendent, and we may not have much notice to ensure that we did have candidates with which to choose from in the short amount of time that we had. Keep in mind that, we're partially in this situation because of an agreement which ended up having an omission in it with regards to a notice period for us to receive notice that the superintendent was going to be leaving or resigning. And we have to work from a clock backwards. We are bound as a board by law to have a superintendent that has been sworn into that position, taken an oath, and as Mr. Cologne mentioned, we basically have 13 business days to do that. So we are not in the most ideal position. I think, Mr. Minor, you're absolutely correct, that in an ideal world, we would have had at least 90 days notice, which would have allowed time to work with the Florida Association of District School Superintendents, with the Florida Association of School Boards, with perhaps another firm, to help us evaluate both local candidates and internal candidates. But we didn't have that luxury. We as a board were faced with reality. We received Dr. Green's letter of resignation on the 1st of July. Today's the 12th of July. June. On the 1st of June, this is the 12th of June, and we have to have a superintendent sworn into office upon the departure of Dr. Green. We did make it known those individuals who were being considered. I can tell you that nearly every name that was mentioned, even if it was, a superintendent that's not in the area, I reached out to them to have a conversation. I met with them. And, I will tell you that we did, by the fact that those other individuals were not really interested in being the interim with the 3 candidates that were being considered. But Mr. Minor, I agree with you, absolutely, that given enough time, it would have been both appropriate and responsible for us to go through that process. But for right now, given the timing of this, we do need to do what I believe we're about to do, and that is begin the negotiations. So by the board meeting on the 26th, we will have an agreement for a superintendent, which this board can consider and hopefully approve. I will commit to you to ensure that throughout the process of developing the agreement, that each of you individually can be engaged to understand well before we take up the agreement on the 26th, so that most likely from a timing perspective, if we approve that agreement, we will probably have Mrs. Saunders sworn in on the 26th that night, so that she will be ready to assume the responsibilities upon Dr. Green's departure. Keep in mind, we are at a critical time in our school planning year, the budget process. We now have the revenues to be competitive. We are actively and aggressively recruiting. And if we were to extend this even another 2 weeks, we run the risk of it harming our ability to recruit the new teachers that we need to hire and process so that they can be ready for the beginning of the school year. Bus drivers, I believe it's critically important that we're able to send a message that we will have as seamless a transition as possible to ensure that the current employees, future employees, see us as moving forward and keeping this momentum. If there is no other further debate, those in favor of the motion, which is to authorize the board's attorney, Mr. Dye, and the chair to enter into negotiations with Mrs. Cynthia Saunders for a superintendent contract effective no later than July 1st, 2018, to serve as the superintendent during the interim period. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Minor?
No.
Okay, show the motion adopted 4-1. We are now on the item number 8, approval of the minutes. Dr. Green?
Chair, I recommend approval of the minutes from the May 22nd, 2018 workshop and shade meeting and regular meeting.
So moved.
Having been moved and seconded, is there any debate or amendments to the minutes?
I think there was a move, I don't think there was a second.
There was a second, I think, from
I moved.
Mr. Kennedy moved. Was there no second?
Second, I don't mind seconding.
I thought there was.
Or Dave just did it.
I guess so, yeah.
Just did?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Mr. Minor has, wait a second, no, we're on, that's out of order. It looks like the consent agenda is up there on the screen.
Okay.
Mr. Minor, would you like to second the motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
All right, so Mr. Minor has seconded. Is there any debate or amendments to the minutes, changes?
Are we doing 1 and 2? Or we just
Yes, I
doing one?
believe Dr. Green requested that we approve both the board workshop shade meeting and the regular meeting.
Okay, well, that's, who made the motion to, Mr. Kennedy?
Mr. Kennedy.
You would make a motion for approving both?
Correct.
And I'm seconding it, and Dr. Green. recommended it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor, and just, what's up on our screen
Aye.
is a consent agenda.
No, it's not, it's.
Oh, I see, okay,
It's
okay,
the
all right.
consent agenda for
All right.
two items.
My mouse is not, there we go. All right, show the minutes adopted with,
We got the consent.
all right, thank you. Now we're on, oh, I see the voting is not on the same numbering scheme as the amended agenda? Must be, okay, all right.
This is now the consent agenda.
So ignore the item number on the voting screen. We are now on item number 9, the consent items. Dr. Green.
I recommend approval of the consent agenda for June 12, 2018.
So moved. Second?
The motion has been moved by Mr. Minor, seconded by Mr. Kennedy. Is there any debate on the?
There's public comment.
All right, having been moved and seconded,
Maybe it's a consent agenda.
Yes,
it
they
is.
can make
It
public
is.
comment, but
Public comment, Vice Chair Messenger.
it's just Mr. Gibolina. Come on down. I think I was told you signed up for multiple items, but you'll speak, the consent agenda is only speaking for all those things at one time. So, speak quickly.
They did put in 3 separate requests. Okay. I guess my first one is item number 23. That's the Johnson Middle School. We're doing some rehab there, spending $7.3 million.
$8 million.
Thank you. And again, no
You're right.
no third party that should take a look at the renewable component to see if it's worthy, if it's even should be included. I think it should be. But how do you know? Because you don't bring in the experts to get a third party evaluation. You spend all the taxpayers' money on stuff that is not vetted properly. So I think that needs to be looked at. Number 25, $45 million. That's project number 25. Okay, so again, architectural engineering, $2 million. Have they even approached the board and said, what are the renewable components of any of the buildings? California has a mandatory renewable, you don't get a permit unless there's some type of renewable commitment. So I just don't get it. I don't get the vetting process. I don't get how all this money just keeps going out of the taxpayers without any credibility on the renewable component of it. We're in the Sunshine State. Number 26, I guess is the one that really bugs me. Bradshaw Elementary. Now,
Sure.
huh?
Sure.
Bashaw, okay. So, in 2015, $8.8 million. That was the top budget. 2016, $14.6 million. How do you get a 40% increase? I don't see it in materials. I don't see it in labor. Why do we even bother having contracts if we can't put caps on this stuff? And this is for a metal roof that would be perfect for solar. But how do you go from 8 million to 14 million in 1 year? Can anybody, aren't these red flags to you? They're concerns to me, and no matter where I look on the website, I just see a bunch of numbers that add up to the new. Well, how did we get there? Where's the accountability? I mean, it's just, 8 million to 14 million. I wish I had those kind of pay increases. So I think third party, every project should not be given a permit until someone talks to the architect, the engineers, and the design crew to see where that component is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, there are no further public comments on the consent agenda. Members, it's been moved and it's been seconded. Is there any further debate or discussion? Hearing none, members, in approval of the consent agenda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Show the consent agenda adopted. Dr. Green, we are now on new business, non-consent items.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of the budget amendments through April 2018.
Yeah, this is where the amendment comes in.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'm
No,
sorry.
you're correct. You're correct. All right, we are now all right, I do believe the motion was on the, to amend the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee was made for that to be the first new business item under non-consent items. I believe that was finally Mr. Minor's motion, is that correct?
Yes, sir, and I have a motion with respect to that matter.
Okay. Mr. Minor for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like the board tonight, in line with some things the chair even said, that we need to be focused on what we promised the voters when we had the referendum, concerning the extra millage. And I'm asking the board to resolve tonight, that the business and responsibility of the school board's Financial Advisory Committee shall exclusively consist of A, serving as the Financial Oversight Committee for overseeing the receipt and disbursement of funds generated by the electorate's March 20, 2018 approval of Resolution 2017-11 of the School Board of Manatee County, providing for an ad valorem 1 mil increase beginning July 1, 2018 and ending June 30, 2022, and B, issuing an annual report regarding the fiscal stewardship of the funds generated by the 1 mil increase. My motion tracks the very language of the resolution made by this board and the ballot language where the promise was made, to the electorate. And I'm asking the board to approve this resolution tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Minor has a motion on the floor.
I'll give it a second, but I will preface it by saying that there are some amendments I would like to make to that.
Okay, so are you
I'll second
seconding
it so Mr. Minor's idea can be heard, but I do have some points I would like to add.
Okay, Mr. Minor's motion has been seconded. Do we have public comment?
I know
Is
that
anyone interested?
Larry Simmons had already signed up to speak, so
So
come on down
Mr.
first, and then we'll open up to
I
everybody
think
else.
Mr.
Yeah,
Who-
I saw
why?
his hand.
Mr. Simmons was first.
Larry Simmons had already signed up, so Larry Simmons and then Mr. Hoover can go.
And anyone else wishing
Anyone
to make
else?
public comment, be prepared to follow Mr. Hoover.
Superintendent Green, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff. My name is Larry Simmons. I'm a member of the Financial Advisory Committee. 4 of you members of the board were at our first meeting, and you heard the charge that was given to that committee. And there were several points that oversight, review of financial reports and monitoring of the use of referendum revenue, oversight, review of financial reports and monitoring of the use of state sales tax revenue. We already do that. Your audit committee is charged with doing that. So that's a duplication, in my opinion. Review and operation of the capital expenditures proposals at the request of board. That's capital outlay money. That's primarily sales tax money. You already do that, so why should this committee do it again? Review of other areas of fiscal concern, financial concern that may be brought before by a committee member or a member of the public. I don't believe that was in the resolution to the public. And then reporting to the school board members of the public meeting, I think that's great to do that. I would support the fact that you need to dial back a little bit on what you're going to ask this committee to do. As I've heard you say, come July 1, one section of your school system is going to be under attack almost in implementation of new software programs. If you asked this committee to do all of those things, you are going to be putting additional burden on staff. There is no way that should be done at this time. I'm not saying that at some point in time that maybe some other things in this district need to be looked at. Like your technology, for an example, tonight, all of you have had difficulty. It's great when it works, but here again, I know that IT is going to be part of the new system, and so therefore a lot of things. But if you ask this committee to be redundant in things that you're doing, that's a waste of their time and of the resources of this school system. Thank you.
While we don't normally comment, I think because this was an item that was added, the difference between the audit committee and the finance committee, the audit committee is charged with retrospectively looking at how money was spent. The finance committee is charged with how it gets budgeted before it's spent.
I disagree.
So that's okay.
I disagree with you, sir, because I don't believe it says that in the resolution.
You have to look at the resolution where we created the committee. I think you're looking at the resolution for the referendum. But that's okay. We're going to get to it. Thank you. Appreciate your willingness to serve.
Mr. Hoover, come on down.
Garen Hoover, member of the Finance Committee, Dr. Green, Dr. Hopes, board members, staff, attorneys. I don't see why you would want to limit the scope. What can it hurt? What harm can come from looking at things from a budgetary point of view? So I would respectfully ask this board to allow the committee to look at everything. What's wrong with that? If we believe in sunshine, which I think we all do, why limit it? Let us look at whatever might be of concern. Let the committee, the committee is not going to make any final binding decisions. The board gets to make the final approval. So I would ask that you, Mr. Minor, reconsider this motion and allow the public to, through the Finance Committee and through the board, to look at the finances. What harm could come from that? It's just an extra set of eyes on the finances of a school district. And by the way, you had mentioned, I think, the ballot language. The ballot language didn't even include anything regarding the Finance Committee, if you recall. So, but I would just respectfully request that you allow us to examine whatever may come up. There may be something that maybe a board member might propose, but what's wrong with limiting it? What harm can come from allowing eyes, more eyes on the finances of this district? So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that'd like to make a public comment? Alicia?
Y'all are working very hard, and I'm sure you're very tired of people talking. But I just want to encourage us all to be, when it comes time for the election, are you going to be transparent? Are you going to show that you really want transparency? Or are you going to try to hide things from the public? Unfortunately, we have a track record of $3.5 million deficit that nobody knew where it went. So unfortunately, the school district has a bad track record, and it kind of be nice if we continue to promote transparency in this next election. Give the finance committee as much responsibility, as much freedom as they can have, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Motkowitz. I'm getting it.
My concern, someone left their glasses. My concern with the committee is that it's become too broad from what I've heard and people that I've spoken to. I'm concerned that it's not focused enough. It should be based on my understanding, the referendum money. And I'm concerned that it's going to take up staff time and use up dollars that could be used in the classroom. We already have an audit committee. We have an internal audit committee. We have federal auditors, state auditors. I believe the district has come a long way from the days of the missing money, the deficit. And I would not like to see so much staff time and money used towards this committee. We already have staff struggling to meet the ERP schedule, trying to help out and work with the cyber people. We have issues of, I know, and one thing that's dear to my heart is there's not enough money, I don't believe, for summer school for the program I'm involved in, the LIFE program. They have 8 days of summer school, and I could see where this money that's going to be used towards another oversight committee could better be used in the classroom itself. And I just think that this is overkill. I think it needs to be focused on the referendum money, and it's way too broad, and I believe it's going to use up resources that could be better used in the classroom. Thank you.
All right.
Anyone else for public comment?
All right. Mr. Minor, I believe this was your issue because you raised it with the superintendent last week. Do you have copies of the actual resolution which created the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee and laid out the purpose and the scope for that committee so that we can review it?
Mr. Chair, my motion was exactly what I understand was provided to you and what I requested, last week to be included in the agenda. And so you're familiar with this motion. And
right.
And my understanding is that you told the superintendent that it would not be on the published agenda. You would not allow it.
So the question, Mr. Minor.
May I respond, sir?
No, Mr.
I'm
Minor.
sorry. Well,
I just want to remind you of my question. I
Well,
would like,
I'm giving
and we're
you
in
my-
debate, I would like you to answer my question.
Well, I'm not here as a witness or to do your research. I'm here advocating money for the classrooms and not to have double oversight when we don't need it, and to have sensible oversight consistent with the promises we made to this community, and to have the focus on the money that comes from this extra millage. They want to know, they deserve to know, they were promised to know that we would have an independent committee that would review how the money came in and to see that it was distributed closely, entirely in accordance with what we told the public we were going to do. That's my motion. You've had it for at least a week. I think that the community deserves this, and I'm calling the question.
Just as a point of information, I think we need to have some debate before you call the question.
We've had
Sorry,
debate.
no,
Okay.
we have not.
Okay.
It was just put on the agenda. It was moved and seconded. One person has spoken, you.
This isn't, I don't think this is the actual resolution which created the committee. There was a resolution that created the Financial Advisory Committee and laid out the purpose of the committee in the initial scope.
It was the February 13th meeting. I have it up on my computer.
Right, at MTC.
I don't know if what you printed is the same. I'm just telling you, this is what I have
Yeah,
from
the
February 13th
first sheet
meeting.
is what you all had decided was the
That's what,
purpose.
that's what we
From the
voted on?
executive-
I
from
haven't
the
seen
ex-
that yet, so I don't.
Yes.
Executive summary.
This is what we agreed to.
Right, it's what we agreed to, and I think it's what we told the public this committee was going to be doing, right? I just want to get that clear first.
I think what is clear is that,
Mr. Minor, please.
well, you
please.
asked a question, now
Please.
you don't want me to answer.
No, I didn't ask you to answer this question.
Well, you
wasn't a
asked a
question. It
question
wasn't a question.
to make comparisons with what was before. The reason that we have this resolution tonight is that there are people in this community who are on that committee who said, wow, I didn't sign up for this.
So did you ask, I appreciate that, did you ask the chair and the vice chair of the committee to discuss that with the board? They've yet to assign a scope of work. They've yet to divide into 3 separate committees. They have yet to even agree on what they're going to do. But in all fairness, I mean, I think it's premature to be restricting a committee of 15 community experts, in finance, in accounting, in education. It seems like there's a reaction to try to avert something that hasn't even occurred. We had one member discuss that we're duplicating efforts. We're not duplicating efforts. The audit committee deals with what has already occurred. That's an audit. That's an audit. What I believe we communicated to the citizens and the voters of this county is that this financial advisory committee was going to be providing financial oversight to ensure that the monies get spent the way the voters intended, that we're providing transparency in how the district both budgets and spends its money. And this is a significant change to a commitment made to the public. It's being done without adequate notice. Even if it had been amended when you requested the amendment, it would not have been adequate notice to the public to even come before us and to give us their opinions. And I believe it would be appropriate that this be taken to the committee as a whole and discussed with the elected chair who's volunteering. By the way, we haven't expended much money on the staff. We're conscientious of the staff's time during this critical period of time. I don't believe the chair of the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee has yet to even impose a demand on staff for any services at this time. And so I got to tell you, I mean, you know, I'm going to have a lot of people tomorrow telling me, I told you so. I told you so. You shouldn't have accepted the chairmanship. You shouldn't have come out in support of the need for these revenues, because as sure as it gets passed, what this board's going to do is they're going to retract the commitment they made to the public. And I am not going to retract or rescind my commitment to those that came out and supported, those businesses that came out and supported this referendum. And many of them did so because we said we are going to be transparent. We are going to include the community and experts in the community to help this district continue to move forward. Are there other comments or debate? Mr. Kennedy.
Yes, there's plenty. And as always, I would hope that we keep this professional and not lecture each other. But to go back to the actual the resolution that created the referendum, on the ballot question itself, what the voters saw, and I'll skip to the end, and STEM programs to support charter schools, the very last clause, as overseen by an independent citizens committee, which we still will have in place, whichever way this conversation goes. Not on the ballot, but on that resolution of this school board that we passed in November of 2017. Provided the millage increase is approved, a financial oversight committee appointed by the school board shall issue an annual report to ensure proper fiscal stewardship of the funds. In addition, the committee shall identify relevant outcomes and report results to the community. So as our own resolution in November, that's all they were charged with doing. Then at MTC, the one meeting that we had at MTC, when we voted to create this committee, when this board voted to create it, one important piece of that conversation that came out of it will be that the membership of the board and every single thing this board does is approved by a majority of the board, not one or two people. So let's get the background stuff out of the way. No one is suggesting that we are reducing transparency. This is the most transparent organization in Manatee County. Our books are open for 5,000 sets of eyes to look at, not just 15. You can disagree with me, that's fine. I would say there's no more transparent organization in the county that does its business as publicly as we do. I do think, based on these
I'm sorry, Mr. Hopes wants to have some other
bullet points,
discussion up here.
it's fine, I'll keep going. I think there are some good stuff in the bullet points here that we as a board created in February at MTC, which is why, Mr. Minor, I said, I think you're on the right track, and I do, where our final endpoint is the same. We want to focus the committee's work on exactly what we intended, which was stewardship and oversight of the referendum funds. Not the sales tax, because as former board member, Mr. Simmons has already said, that work is already being done by the audit committee. And let me take you back, because I will keep coming back to this, that we said in February, anything this committee does will be approved by a majority of the board. So not by the board members themselves of that very committee, but by a majority of us 5. Okay. So to go through the bullet points, oversight, review of financial reports, and monitoring the use of referendum revenue. That first bullet point was what this committee was initially charged with doing. Second bullet point, oversight, blah, blah, blah. Use of sales tax revenue, cross that off. The audit committee's already doing that. Review of operations and capital expenditure proposals at request of the board. I think that's valid because a board member, a majority of the board at some point in the future may come up and say, hey, I think I've got something here that we should charge the financial advisory committee with to investigate for us or to look into. Periodic review of financial reports, statements, and audit as presented by school board staff or outside agencies. That gets a little sticky because then who is periodic review? If a majority of this board doesn't call for that periodic review, and then it's just I think that bullet point is very vague, and I'll apologize straight up. I should have thought this out in February when we finalized this. But after that first committee meeting, and it's like, whoa, this thing is already gone. In my opinion, this thing is already gone off the rails. We're talking about making committees. The majority of this board never talked about any subcommittees. We talked about oversight of the referendum revenue that is soon to come in January 1st, 2019. Fifth bullet point.
Do you want to change that? Bullet point?
Hold on. No, I'll go back to it at the end. We'll come back to it. A review of other areas of financial concerns that may be brought forward by a committee member, a member of the public, the superintendent, or the school board members. There's a major flaw in that bullet point because it doesn't say anything about a majority of the board bringing it forward. Anybody can come to the financial committee and say, I want you to look into this, and then that's got to go or be amended. Communicating and reporting to the board is needed. Obviously, I think that's relevant. And reporting to school board members at a public meeting to include finding, and obviously that's relevant too. That's why, Mr. Minor, I said I don't want to focus in on exactly what you had because I think there is some good stuff here that should stay, but there's some vagueness and some things outside of the majority of this board that I think we need to rectify. Thank you.
Thank you. And here's, let me point out some problems with the way we're dealing with this. We have the executive summary. We had 3 meetings where actually we were discussing this, and I think part of the problem is that the items that were in the packet for the first meeting for the Financial Advisory Committee, because I can tell you there are a couple things in here that did not make it, but I think we're going to have to go through all the minutes and the final vote because we narrowed it down. And what we have here, I don't believe is the composite of the work that we did both at MTC the following meeting where we finalized the appointment of the members, which I believe was here, because we did additional work on the purpose and the scope. So I believe we're reacting to pieces of a final product, but we do not have the accurate reflection of the final product that we arrived at, because that's not what this is. I mean, these bullet points, because we took out a couple of things in this, because I can see something in here that was in Sarasota's language that we took out, and it's showing up in here. And principally, the sort of like the catch-all category, where these projects that were outside of the 3 or 4 primary focuses of the committee had to be approved by a majority of the board. And so we're trying to amend something or throw everything out and come up with something when what we have before us, and I believe in reality what Mr. Minor reviewed, because I think Mr. Minor was reviewing to the information that was provided to the Finance Committee, which is not the complete and final version according to the minutes and the resolution when we created it. And so we're talking about, well, this wasn't in the referendum resolution, but then we started off with this, and there were 3 meetings that we worked through before we finally approved the language defining the purpose, the establishment, the scope, and the restrictions, and then the members. And my suggestion remains, let's have staff go back through all the minutes for all the meetings that related to the establishment of the Financial Advisory Committee. We will ensure that the Financial Advisory Committee doesn't take substantive action on anything until we can get the resolution of this. But I can tell you right now, from my perspective, in reading what Vice Chair Messenger called up from the minutes of one meeting, tells me that we are up here reacting to an initial meeting of a committee, and I think it's a distraction from the business we need to do. And I don't think it sends a very good message, whether it's intended to be that way or not. The optics are poor. And it's at a time when I don't think we need to get mired into trying to fix a problem that really has yet to be defined. Vice Chair Messenger.
I was debating what to say. So I was at that committee meeting, and I was really excited. And I really agreed with a lot of things that you said. I really felt like you did speak for the board in the beginning portion. And I know that's a tough part for you, because I think you have things that you'd like to see done. I think you have things that maybe you've promised to the community that the board has not agreed to. And all I'm asking is that the will of the board to be honored. That is all I want to see happen, because we are a team.
Okay.
And when I was there, what I heard was subcommittees. That was never anything in this document that this board agreed to. What I heard was instead of retrospective. Once again, that is not anything in these documents that the board has agreed to. In fact, the word's review to me means that it is a look at the books. I am not saying don't look at the books. I am #1 for transparency. I put things out on Facebook because I want people to know what's going on. I want it to be out there. I want people to hear those things. I support that 100%. And I'm not asking to change. I don't even know if I support those changes. I know I don't support those changes. I hear what Mr. Kennedy is saying. But I guess what frustrated me is that that it took this long to even get to that point. When somebody wants to make a motion and wants to discuss something even, I feel like that should be honored. We are all just one person. And that, I just believe that we were all picked here, one way or another. It should be honored, and that's what I'm asking for. That's really where my frustration lies. Not necessarily the items per se, but that the will of the board is honored, because the board did choose to go through this. We spent hours talking about it, and then spending hours talking about it, and then to go into the first meeting and hear things that this board did not agree on to be said to that committee is insulting to our time.
Okay. Let me.
No.
Okay. Let me.
No.
Okay.
Let him finish.
It is,
Yeah, no, I am.
as soon as that meeting was done, I started hearing from committee members that were concerned that we weren't going to honor what we promised in the referendum because of the speeches that were made that day. Because it wasn't, the number one goal should be the millage referendum. That is the number one goal. But that was not, in my impression, what was sold to that finance committee the day I was there. I wasn't gonna bring this up today. I was gonna go make a public comment at the finance committee meeting. The toughest part for us as school board members is, once one member is speaking at that committee, none of the rest of us can talk. Because then it looks like we're having a conversation about something, we can't talk about it. So if I hear you saying something, I can't say, wait a minute, the board didn't agree with that. Because that's my view, is the board didn't agree to those things. And if the board does agree to those things, great. I just want the will of the board to be represented. That's all I'm asking for. And when I hear that there's committee members that are already concerned that we're not gonna honor what the millage referendum said because of the speeches that were made, because they didn't feel like that was the number one focus of that group, that is a big concern for me, because I wanna honor what we put. I put my name behind that, I voted for it, I supported it, I believe it's the right thing to do, and I just wanna fulfill that, and I want that to be the number one focus, and I don't feel like that was communicated very well. I saw the draft of their charter, and their charter I 100% agree with, because their charter basically, from what I read, explicitly focuses on this. I am comfortable with that. What I'm not comfortable with is things being added to that this board did not agree to, which would be the subcommittees, the retrospective look versus the prospective look. Those things were not agreed to. And I understand your verbiage in that bullet point about school board members, although I think that can be interpreted as school board members as a majority. But I hear your point of view as well. And I also know that Mr. Minor had brought up before the sales tax revenue issue. I could take it or leave it. If we choose to remove that, that's fine. I know the audit committee looks at that. So I feel like government gets known for having so many redundancies. And I don't want those. I don't want the redundancies. I mean, we have lots of checks and balances. I'm all for having more checks and balances that are necessary, but not unnecessary redundancies. If we need to discuss that, that's fine. I also agree that maybe a decision shouldn't be made tonight, because I do believe the public should be able to weigh in. Like I said, I believe in transparency, but I think if Mr. Minor had a motion and that could have been put up there and we could have had public comment about this, then this maybe could have been avoided. 2 seconds to spare.
Mr.
Wait a second, Mr. Minor.
I think you've had all your time, and may I speak to this and what Mrs. Messenger said. It used to be...
Wait a second, Mr. Minor, please.
Well, please, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Minor?
I'm sorry, you're the one who choked off this discussion when you said that you weren't going to put it on the agenda. And what I'm about to say is that...
Mr. Minor, it's appropriate when discussion is directed at a particular point or a particular member to allow for a response before we move to a different subject matter. And I appreciate Vice Chair Messenger's points. I think what's being lost is that meeting was basically an organizational meeting. If you go back to the discussion that we had when we were discussing the committee, like the audit committee, we said we would basically lay out an original purpose and scope. The committee would meet and the committee would come back to us with operating procedures, how they were going to do the work. One of the things that they were looking at is if you have a committee of 15 members, it's difficult to operate. The reason why the discussion was being had around from an operating procedures perspective to perhaps, if they choose, to recommend to the board in their proposed operating procedures, which must be approved by us, that given the scope of work and the different ways in which the referendum dollars are supposed to be spent, personnel versus STEM versus this, that those experts who have far more experience than we in both finance and committee work. So the reason why I bring it up is it was an organizational meeting to begin the committee preparing for how they would respond to the charges by the board. They haven't organized yet, and that's the problem with you know, not understanding or perhaps the level of experience. The audit committee went through the same thing. The audit committee both came up with operating procedures, and then last year they came back to us to amend those procedures. This committee hasn't even created the operating procedures yet. They're bringing to us both a perspective of what the concerns are in the community as well as addressing the resolution. And that's why I bring it up. I agree with you. If I were sitting in that room and I was hearing some of the conversation, I too may have jumped to conclusions. The intent was to get the committee together for the first time. They should have come together a long time ago and begin thinking about what needed to be done. I have every confidence in the world that this board will ensure that there is not a creep of scope of this committee beyond what we originally intended. But I do believe that these folks that have far more experience than we do in looking at issues like this should be given the opportunity to come back to us having thought through what the perceived charge is, how they would recommend that they go about doing their work, how they would go about coordinating with the audit committee. There was a discussion, there's been discussion with individuals about ensuring that there is not redundancy or overlap with the audit committee and the finance committee. And I, you know, I really believe that we need to first ensure that we have a clean copy of what was approved in creating the committee. We certainly have had time, the referendum's behind us, to take a look at it, but they are required to come to us and get approval for anything that they do with regards to their operating procedures, the way they do business, any kind of demands that they place on staff. And you know, I believe it's premature. And I will yield my remaining 1 minute to Mr. Minor. Mr. Minor has 6 minutes.
Mr. Chair, some remarks by Vice Chair Messenger about, you know, board discussion. And I was about to say it used to be the practice of the school board that any board member who had something they liked to have on the agenda would have it put on the agenda by the chair. It was a courtesy. We don't have that courtesy now. We do have rules, however, that say, and you look them up, and the statutes, and Mr. Dye can confirm me or deny me, but the chair does not have veto over what goes on the agenda. But you vetoed it. And you prevented, you know, the public really to have knowledge about the importance of this and have discussion. And so you say, gee, we ought to have discussion, but you're the one who cut it off. And really against the rules, against the courtesy. What we had, and I think that Mrs. Messenger, maybe Mr. Kennedy also, you know, had feedback. Whoa, I didn't think we were going to do that. I got into this because I wanted to make sure that this millage was used in accordance with what was promised. That's why I'm here. And they get in, they start talking, and this is something I have reason to believe that you had a lot in designing the agenda. It started going all over the place. What is the Red Book? All the finances. We get federal, state, we got local money, and we're going to be reviewing this and how it's spent. Is it going to be correct? And then to get into all of that requires one heck of a lot of staff time, of which we don't have, and that staff might cost a lot of money and takes money out of the classroom. And that's what we're supposed to be about, the education of the kids, not having to add to administrative costs to take away from that education. What we're supposed to do, I believe, as Mrs. Messenger said, the primary thing is to meet what we told the public in the referendum. And my resolution tracks that to the word. it's to do that. And that's what I'm asking that this board approve tonight. You're going to follow what we said in the referendum, and we need a committee dedicated to that. And that's a full-time job, folks, to check on that and to have 15 people who are concerned about that and to be transparent about everything they do and making sure that teachers get every penny and bus drivers and all that were promised in it. That's a lot of review by itself. And you don't have to get into, well, are we getting it from the feds, the state, or whatever? And I think laying out that committee, and I'm going to say I think that the chair had a lot of responsibility that for what was presented that way and the perception that was given. And people say, I don't want anything to do with that. I want to do what was promised. And that's the reason for this resolution tonight that the board, I hope, would approve unanimously, or at least 3-2. And that would be the direction, to the Finance Committee to start looking into, okay, we don't have money coming in yet, what are we going to do? And I think, this board is telling the administration, we're going to treat our employees as though we're coming in and we're going to borrow to meet those obligations, and that's kind of complicated too. But how are we going to invest the money coming in? How are we going to check? What bank accounts are going to come in? These are things that the committee needs to review and have input on. There wasn't one vowel, one syllable spoken about that at the meeting. So when people say, geez, what on earth are we doing? They have good reason to do that. And my motion is to give the focus where it belongs, to the transparency use of what comes from this 1 mil. And for those that say, well, we just had something for the audit committee, and Mr. Hopes, you ought to review it again, I guess, specifically was charged with overseeing the half-cent sales tax. Specific authority is given to them. That is a reflection of, do we really need to be spending staff time on duplicating all this? Absolutely not. This is inviting waste of money that belongs in the classroom, and nobody should fight having it limited to that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So, one of your issues appears to be the overview of the way the district budgets and the restricted funds. I mean, that it was an informative meeting. There was not that, the presentation that you're referring to as a waste of their time was an overview by the district CFO to the committee so that they had an understanding of the complexities of the restriction of various funds in the district in a 30,000-foot view of the budgeting process.
That had nothing to do with the resolution that the public was to approve. There wasn't discussion about what they're supposed to be doing, and that's overseeing the 1 mil. And what this resolution is designed to do is to focus on what's supposed to be focused on, the 1 mil coming in from the taxpayers and how it is allocated. And that's a big job, and we shouldn't stray from that. Thank you.
You know what? You're right, Mr. Minor, and the chair.
Well, let's call the vote then.
The chair felt that they needed an overview of the Sunshine Law.
Well, I think you made it just a mess, and I think we ought to call a vote, and either we're going to stop the loss of money from the classroom or not.
Mr. Kennedy has been waiting to speak. Mr. Kennedy.
Maybe I'll get the last word. I don't know, but I have come back to Mr. Minor's position, and I will support his resolution because I think it's better to go that route as opposed to tabling this, kicking the can down the road. This committee operates because of the 5 of us, and everything they do is because of the 5 of us. So what I think personally does not matter. What you think personally does not matter. What 3 of us think in agreement is what matters. So, Mr. Minor, I'll support it. Because I think you're on the right track, and then we can go to the committee and say, you don't have to do a darn thing until you get outside of the referendum. You don't have to do a darn thing outside of the referendum funds until you get a voice from the majority of the board that wants you to do something further.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll call the question.
Do I get a chance to
Mr.
speak,
Cologne has
Mr.
not
Minor?
spoken.
Okay.
Mr. Cologne.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your permission. Couple of quick things. Okay. I have no problem with discussion of anything. Let me make that perfectly clear. The only reason I didn't support the original motion was because things were added into it. It wasn't brought up for discussion. It was brought up strictly to change something that we had not discussed. And I wanted discussion. And I was in favor of that. Not a problem. I have no problem with anything any board member wants to say. I just don't like it when adversarial relationships are developed. I don't like the body language of some of the board members who are getting confrontational quickly. That's not what we're here for. Why do we have to get confrontational? It's not necessary. It's not professional. It's childish. Now, just as a point of Mrs. Messenger to the Vice Chair, perhaps when we set up that meeting at the board, it was done incorrectly. Because under sunshine, if the meeting is properly noticed and it is listed that board members may be present, you don't have to list every board member that may or may not be there. You can, any board member can speak. You don't have to be silenced. That's proper. And you can check that with our attorney, whom I've already consulted on it. One other thing, personal. I have to resent Mr. Minor's assertion that my vote is assured one way or the other before anything is finished. Because as I said, I had no problem with discussing anything. I just don't like to be in the middle of something where I was not present, I don't know what was said at that meeting, and now everybody's fighting over it. You know, when you set up a committee and you put it on a ballot, that committee basically gathers almost a life of its own. And they can have subcommittees, at least in my opinion, to investigate, since there are, 15 people on that committee? Gets a little unwieldy. You can have different groups focus on different things, bring it back to the committee, and then come to us with it, and we still have the oversight. But we need the information. We need the committee to focus on where the money is being spent. And what I don't want is what I heard from numerous individuals. Oh, the same thing is going to happen in this committee that happened in the last one when I think it was McGonigal or somebody was here. I don't remember exactly who it was because I wasn't here. But I was told that they set up a committee, they commanded it to have oversight, it was supposed to monitor everything, and what happened? As soon as the committee had a few questions, they disbanded it. I don't want this committee to go the same way. I want them to dig in, keep track of the funds, and make sure that our teachers, our bus drivers, our staff, and everyone gets what they were promised. In this, I do agree with Mr. Minor. I just don't like the way he goes about it. That's all.
Vice Chair Messenger.
I had no problem with the committee if they decided they wanted to break off into different things. The concern I have is it wasn't their choice. It didn't come about in an organic way where they decided it. It was told to them that they were going to do it. That was not something we agreed to. All I'm asking is the board's will to be honored. That is all I'm asking. I'm not asking for anything more than that. That's all I'm asking for. It didn't come about, and in fact, after it was suggested, then a suggestion was made of a subcommittee, and the subcommittee had nothing to do with referendum dollars. And that's the concerns that I have. That it was suggested to the committee instead of the committee creating it themselves, and then subcommittees already coming about that have nothing to do with the original scope of what we asked them to do. And I know you didn't get to be there and hear it. You're a busy man. I get it, you know. I get to find a babysitter for a couple hours and go.
Prior
and-
commitment.
I
had a
get it.
prior
I get
commitment,
it.
I'm sorry.
You know, but that is what happened, and those are the concerns that I have. All I'm asking is that all of our voices are represented, and that is only done by a vote, and that is done by this vote. This is what we voted on. This is what we approved. And even if the wording is slightly different, I can promise you that those words were never in there. And I don't know if the minutes are truly different than this, but these are the minutes I've always seen. I matched it to what we have in record. I'm sure we can go back and look at tapes. But I can tell you that there were certain things that we did agree to, and there were certain things that we didn't agree to. And that's all I'm asking, to be honored. That is my only qualm. And I'm looking back at my notes. Yep, that's it.
I will say one thing, since I
Mr.
wasn't
Clark.
there and I didn't hear it, I will take Vice Chair Messenger's word for it and vote in favor of it, if that's all we're doing. I just want to make sure that the money goes where it's supposed to go. And
Well, I do have one other question. Will Mr. Minor read back the motion that he made that got seconded?
Yes, and he'll also be doing that before we take the vote. Mr. Minor, my reasoning for wanting to have this in a workshop was because of the work we had before us tonight. And obviously, there was a combination of different perceptions, suggestions versus directives, and I felt, and I still feel, that this is an issue that should be conducted in a workshop, in the public eye, with the members of the committee, so that we can work through the process that they go through, the need for operating procedures to ensure that rails are put on the scope of their work, and priorities are made, much like the audit committee. The priority is the referendum dollars being budgeted as the voters intended them to be spent. And had we workshopped this, we would have talked through it. There would have been a process in place where there's a clear understanding that when ideas come up, they bring it to the board. And the reason why I felt we shouldn't do it on this night of all nights when we're trying to identify an interim superintendent is that this should be a workshopped issue with the members that we appointed to this Citizen Financial Committee. It wasn't to ignore the issue. It was the best forum for which this could take place. And with that, Ms. Messenger, you have another comment. We'll go to, or you've already spoken?
That was already there.
I will give it to Mr. Minor to close on his motion. Would you please read back the motion first from Vice Chair Messenger?
And then we vote?
I think that's the will of the board.
Thank you. Resolved, the business and responsibility of the school board's Financial Advisory Committee shall exclusively consist of, A, serving as the Financial Oversight Committee for overseeing the receipt and disbursement of funds generated by the electorate's March 20, 2018 approval of Resolution 2017-11 of the School Board of Manatee County, providing for an ad valorem 1 mil increase beginning July 1, 2018 and ending June 30, 2022. I'm going to just add, is receipt and disbursement of funds that they would oversee. B, issuing an annual report regarding the fiscal stewardship of the funds generated by the 1 mil increase. identifying and reporting to the community relevant outcomes of the millage increase, period. This tracks almost exactly, word for word, what was put on the ballot, what we promised there would be if people in the majority voted yes. That's what we promised we would do, and tonight I'm asking that we do it.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Minor, having closed on his motion, the motion was seconded by Mr. Kennedy. It's been debated. Members, all in favor of Mr. Minor's motion, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No. Mr. Cologne?
You voted yes.
Yes, 3-2.
Would-
I'd love to abstain since I wasn't there.
Would you like to reconsider your vote?
No, I'm gonna leave it yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it passed.
However, I'd really love the finance committee to give a report more frequently than once a year. I think that's ridiculous. And I'd like to stipulate that.
That is why I voted no. There were several different
Yeah,
things.
it's
Can we do that, Mr. Minor?
It's been voted on.
Okay.
Otherwise, I
We don't
will
have a
reconsider
motion,
my
we
vote.
don't have a motion on the
Okay.
table unless you want
Well,
to
I'll
recall.
reconsider my
unless
vote.
you
I'd
want to
like a
recall the
report
vote.
more than once a year.
Okay.
I think for the taxpayers to have to wait a year to find out what we did with the money is ridiculous.
All right,
Okay.
we need to move through the agenda.
Okay.
No, I'll reconsider my vote then.
Oh, Jesus.
Mr. Minor can stipulate it.
No, I would support,
I'm giving, I'm
Okay.
supporting your motion.
Mr. Cologne.
The least you could do is support what I'm saying.
I support what you're saying.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
let's put it in there. Fine.
Okay, is there a motion to rescind
Oh,
Mr. Minor's, if that's what you guys want to do, somebody needs to move to rescind
Let's reconsider.
reconsider Mr. Minor's motion. Is there a motion to reconsider Mr. Minor's motion?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Cologne has moved that we reconsider the adoption of Mr. Minor's motion. Is there a second?
I don't think I can second that because I was on the no.
Hearing no second, the motion to rescind, to reconsider fails. We are now on new business, non-consent items. Dr. Green, I think.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of the budget amendments through April 2018.
So moved.
Have been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, debate? Hearing none. Members, please vote on the motion to approve the budget amendments for April 2018. Mr. Cologne? Vote on this item.
I'm supposed to?
Okay, Dr. Green, item number 2.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of the year-to-date financial statements through April 2018.
So moved.
Have been moved and seconded. Members, is there any debate? Members, hearing no debate, we are voting on the approval of the year-to-date financial statements through April 2018. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Show the motion adopted. Item number 3, Dr. Green.
Mr. Dye, do we need to state why these two items are on new business? Because they are,
I don't think you need to. If it
Okay.
helps explain it, you
No.
can, but no, it's
no,
not
I'm
necessary.
just,
this
these
the
would
one we
not
have to
normally
do?
be new business items. I just didn't
I'll
know.
explain it when it gets done.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval to apply, accept, and expend the Manatee County Government Children's Services Advisory Board It's Your Choice Grant effective October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2019, not to exceed $201,000.
It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Messenger, do you have a statement?
Yes, I am abstaining from this vote because I am a member of the Children's Services Advisory Board, and that is part of my duty as being part of this board, so.
Okay, show that Vice Chair Messenger will be abstaining for cause. And then does she have a Form 8A that has to be
I've already
filed?
done it.
It's already
You've already
filed. Okay,
filed.
thank you,
Do
perfect.
you have the ability to click recused?
No, I hit abstain.
Okay, it just isn't showing up over here. Okay.
Well, it
Okay.
says it up there.
That's fine.
Okay, that's no problem. I'll
Okay,
fix it.
perfect. All right. Any debate, members? Hearing none, members, we are voting on the, to apply, accept, and expend the Manatee County Government Children's Services Advisory Board. All in favor?
I think we already voted on that, didn't
We just did.
we? Okay.
Dr. Green, item number 4.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval to apply, accept, and expend the Manatee County Government Children's Services Advisory Board alternative to out-of-school suspension, known as ATOS program, grant effective October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2019, in the amount of $250,000.
You know, there's a typo on here. It should be September 30, 2019, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
So,
it's through September 30, 2019, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, that's what I'm moving.
show the Scribner's error corrected. Is there a motion?
I made the motion with the Scrivener's error correct.
Perfect. Having been moved and seconded, Vice Chair Messenger,
Oh, same,
same organization.
yep, Children's Services Advisory Board.
Thank
It
you.
is part of my job as being part of this board, and so I will be abstaining.
All right, members, we're on the motion to approve, to apply, accept, and expend the ATOS grant from October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2019. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, I thought that's what we approved.
Item number 5, Dr. Green.
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
I recommend
sorry.
approval to purchase property and liability insurance coverage for the period of July 1, 2018 to June 30th, 2019, not to exceed $2,550,000.
So move.
Okay, have been moved and seconded. Is there any debate? Okay, members, we are on the reordered number 6, the approval to purchase property and liability insurance. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Showing none. Item number 7, Dr. Green.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of the new job description for senior financial analyst.
So move.
A second?
Have been moved and seconded. Members, is there any debate? Hearing none, members, we are on the approval of reorder number 7, approval of the new job descriptions for senior financial analyst. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, he asked me a question. It's a new job. There's no one.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Showing none. Motion carries. Reordered item number 8, Dr. Green.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of the new job description for school safety guardian.
So move.
Moved and, is there a second?
I'll second. I also have a suggestion for a change.
Okay, a microphone. Mr. Kennedy seconds. Members for debate. Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you. I just have one, let me pull it up. There we go. Under qualifications, the first bullet point, my suggestion is just that we increase that minimum age to 25.
Okay, so is that in form of a motion? Mr. Titlebaum, for comment.
We may be limited by statute. The legislature has preempted anything in this field for minimum qualifications. Just, before we say, before the board votes on this, I just want to make sure that there is not a something there, the legislature preempted this discussion for us.
Okay, Mr. Kennedy, would you like us to temporarily recess to allow council to review the statutes related to this proposed change?
Why don't,
I'm sorry, may I say something?
Dr. Green?
I would prefer that you go ahead and make the change. If there's something that precludes, we'll come back and bring it back and make the date. Let's,
Okay,
if
so.
you don't mind.
So perhaps, Mr. Teitelbaum or Mr. Dye, you could suggest a wording for the motion
No, I'm gonna,
subject to state law?
yeah, subject to state law, exactly right.
Okay, all right. So, Mr. Kennedy, I understand your motion to amend this item, changing the age from 21 to 25, subject to compliance with state law.
That's exactly right. So if it turns out to be 21, then
Is there a second to Mr. Kennedy's motion?
second,
Okay, having been moved and seconded, Mr. Kennedy's motion is to amend the job description to change the age from, the minimum age from 21 to 25, subject to compliance with state law. Is there debate? Hearing none, members, we are on the motion to amend. Mr. Kennedy's motion to amend is to change the minimum age for the applicant from 21 to 25, subject to compliance with state law. All in favor of Mr. Kennedy's motion to amend? Say aye. Okay, any opposed? Mr., your votes aren't showing up.
That was not for that.
All right, so now we are on the motion, which is the job description as amended. Is there debate on the motion to approve the job description for the school safety guardians as amended?
So moved.
Any debate? Okay, no debate. Members, we are now on the motion as amended to approve the school safety guardian job description with the amendment changing the minimum age from 21 to 25. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Showing none, the motion carries. We are now on renumbered item number 9. Dr. Green.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of the new job description for lead guardian.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, having been moved by Mr. Minor, seconded by Mr. Kennedy, is there any debate on the approval of the new job description for lead guardian?
question?
Mr. Cologne for a question.
Is that salary by statute or is that subject to negotiation?
The lead guardian is a SAMP position, so.
So it's subject to negotiation?
No, sir, it's not. It's supervisory, administrators are not subject to negotiation.
So how do you determine what their salary is?
It's based on the calculation of looking at other districts who are implementing the same program and being in alignment with those districts.
So let me see, a district like Miami that has a higher standard of living, or Naples
Yes.
would have a higher salary, we have to be in line with them?
No, alignment means we are competitive with alignment saying, based on Manatee, based on the cost of living here, this is in alignment with another position that could be located in Okeechobee.
Lafayette,
or Miami.
Lafayette County.
Yes, so.
Yeah.
It isn't
I'd like
that
to be
we're
competitive
paid
with
the
them.
same, but it is competitive.
Okay, is there any further debate or questions? Hearing none, members, we are on approval of the reordered number 9, approval of the new job description for lead guardian. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Showing none, show the motion has carried. Members, we are now on reordered item number 10. Dr. Green.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of the new job description for Director, Safety and Security.
So moved.
Second.
Having been moved and seconded, is there any debate? Members, we are voting on the reordered item number 10, approval of the new job description for Director of Safety and Security. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No, sir, we did not.
Show the motion carries. We are now on reordered item number 11, approval of the new job description for Manager, Business Systems, Manatee Technical College. Dr. Green.
I recommend approval of the new job description for Manager, Business Systems, Manatee Technical College.
So moved.
Second.
Having been moved and seconded, members, is there any debate? Hearing none, members, we're on reordered item number 11, approval of the new job description for Manager, Business Systems, Manatee Technical College. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Show, Doug Wagner's on board with this?
The job description is submitted by the department.
Executive director.
The executive director
Show
of
the
this
motion's
group.
carried.
Yes.
Members, we're on reordered item number 12, approval of the new job description for transformational coach. Dr. Green.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of the new job description for transformational coach.
So moved.
Second.
Having been moved and seconded, is there any debate? Okay, members, we are voting on the motion to approve the new job description for transformational coach. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Showing none, the motion carries. We are now on reordered item number 13, Dr. Green.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of the new job description for analyst, business intelligence, publisher, administration.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, members, is there any debate? Hearing none, we are on approval of the new job description for analyst, business intelligence, publisher, administration. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Show the motion carries. Dr. Green, we're on reordered item number 14, approval of the new job description for analyst, business systems project, and process technology.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of the new job description for analyst, business systems project, and process technology.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any debate?
Yeah, question.
Mr. Cologne for a question.
All these new things we're approving, these are all new budget lines?
Yes, these were all approved in the staffing plan that was done in March. These are the positions that IT came and presented before the board related to the ERP system, as well as it was put in the budget. These are already budgeted job descriptions.
Okay, I know they're budgeted, but I just want to clarify that they're new positions.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
All right, members, we're on the reordered item number 14, approval of the new job descriptions for analyst, business systems project, and process technology. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Showing none, show the motion is carried. We are on reordered item number 15. Dr. Green.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of the revised job description and pay grade adjustment for food service cafeteria manager.
So moved.
Second.
Having been moved and seconded, members, is there any debate? Hearing none, members, we are on reordered item number 14, approval to apply, accept, and expend the Title II Principal and Teacher Training Grant in the amount of $1,469,613 and an estimated roll forward amount of $1,450,000 for a total of $2,919,613. All in favor of the motion? Aye.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Yep.
I think you skipped ahead to the subsequent motion. We actually haven't voted on, Michelle, we're really on 15.
The job description revision and pay grade adjustment for food
This is,
service.
yeah, we're still, we haven't voted on the
cafeteria
food
manager.
service.
That's what she's talking about.
No, but he just jumped ahead to the next.
Oh, because I don't see it on, oh, never mind. Good point, good point. All right. I was reading the wrong reordered number 15. Members, we're on the reordered item number 15, approval of the job description revision and pay grade adjustment for food service cafeteria manager. All,
Yeah, there you go.
all in favor? Aye. It's been a long night.
Now we're
Yes.
good.
All right, members, we are now on reordered item number 16, and that's mine. Approval of the audit committee member reappointments.
So moved.
Second.
And is there a motion? So one of you make a motion.
I did, I made the motion.
Okay, Mr. Kennedy has moved, Mr. Minor has seconded, and our faithful audit committee members have really stuck it out tonight. There is a public speaker, Vice Chair Messenger.
Mr. Motkowitz. Okay.
Okay,
Go.
all right, members, is there any debate? Mr. Kennedy.
Just to say thank you, Mr. Blitzko's been at this for 6 years now and just signed up for 3 more. You are a trooper, sir. Us Duquesne University grads got to look out for each other. So I wanted to get a plug in for Mr. Blitzko and Duquesne University.
It keeps him young,
you,
it
Joe.
keeps
Okay.
him young.
Susan's.
Any other
Okay.
comments, debate?
Okay, let's-
Members, we are on the.
Thank you, Susan.
Members, we are on the approval of the reappointment of the audit committee members. All in favor?
Aye. Didn't I second
Any
it? I thought I
opposed?
seconded it. Okay.
You did.
You did second it. You did second it. Oh, but did you click the mover? I mean, the second? We'll show Mr. Minor voting in the affirmative
Okay.
as the seconder of the motion.
I guess,
All right, members, are there any requests for future agenda items or workshop items, or have I missed something?
No, he's just being smart. I have a workshop request.
Please.
To pick up
Mr.
where we left.
Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To pick up where we left off on the Financial Committee, a workshop on, Mr. Minor's resolution just narrowed the focus, and Gina obviously has a couple things that she would like to see the committee still do, so maybe we could workshop that at the next meeting or subsequent.
Okay, and would you like that workshop to include the members of the Financial Advisory Committee?
If they would like to be here, I'm certainly not going to be issuing subpoenas or anything like that, but again, this is a decision of the five of us, so I wouldn't require it certainly, but if out of interest, it's up to them.
Mr. Minor, you have a position on that?
I think we ought to let the dust settle for a little bit.
Okay, we'll put it on for future
workshop.
request.
Future.
All right.
Can I make a suggestion?
Mr. Cologne.
If it's all right with Mr. Minor and Ms. Messenger? Never mind Mr. Kennedy, you know. I think all future audit committee meetings of particularly the new committee should be publicly noticed, and the notice should include that board members may be present, so that this way any board member that feels they want to attend may attend and not be stifled. I hate to see a lady not able to speak.
I think that is a very wise suggestion.
I'll vote against that.
All right, any other members with workshop requests, future agenda items? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Dye for a legal update.
He has none.
That was a great update. Way to fill in for him. You're not on there. Do you want me to add you on here?
No, I just want to give a quick update for the research. We both,
So you do want to be on there?
just very quick.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, sir.
Mr. Titlebaum.
Okay. Well, to become a sheriff in the state of Florida, the minimum age requirement is vastly less than 21. However, the legislature did not set a minimum age limit for the Guardian program. It was silent. Therefore, they did not preempt that particular field. Home rule applies. Mr. Kennedy's age requirement would be valid unless the legislature says something later on. However, the statutory language that you adopted is very smart, because later on, should they decide to put an age requirement, it would already be in place.
Thank you for that input. Way to go, Mr. Kennedy. All right, instructional update, Cynthia Saunders.
Yes, we are in the midst of our training. All of my academic instructional division is at a FASA conference, and I just want to commend many of them that showed support and came back to speak, because they were almost in Tarpon Springs this morning and then turned around and came back to speak tonight. So I do appreciate their support. The APs, the principals, the directors and above are all there. That is for this week and next week. A number of instructional administrators will be attending the Harvard Leadership Institute. So many from the district office, as well as senior leadership teams of schools will be there. So we have a lot of training going on. And those are the two that are going on right now with our administrators in the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Serrano for the operations update.
Certainly. Congratulations, Ms. Saunders. I'm glad we get to keep our team together, so look forward to working with you. Mr. Kennedy, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging, okay? That's just speaking about women in leadership positions, okay? I had the opportunity, and I had a great time with the management employee self-serve training. And so I urge everyone to continue to sign up and get that training. We did have the remedial class after the active shooter drill, and so we had a lot of principals and assistant principals and executive directors that may have to take another course, but I'm not talking to anyone in particular. But we had a great time, so that's the program is working, and so I have firsthand knowledge of that. So I do want to thank Sarah and Wendy and Regina and Sandy also for the job fairs that they participated and held recently. We were able to hire 56 offers 56 contracts for teachers. The biggest thing was the referendum. People were talking about that, all the candidates. They were in tune with that. We had a customized handout for it showing how we are the best paying district in the Tri-County area, and so that was great information. The caliber also of support staff that we were looking at also referred to the referendum, and we were getting bus driver candidates that actually had their commercial license already, and we're looking to come from other areas as well. The job postings, as you know, were up pending board approval, and so I just want to tell you the volume that we have. We have over 253 guardians that applied so far, 66 guardian leads, and 6 directors, and so we'll start the interview process on that. The quality of some of the guardian positions are quite remarkable because they are people that are in law enforcement. Some are current, some actually work in the area. I won't say whether it's the sheriff's or the police department of Holmes Beach or Bradenton or Palmetto, but they're here and they look really good on paper, and so hopefully we'll be able to get some really good recruits on that, and so we're looking forward. We're working the final details with the sheriff's office as far as the training goes, and they're going to assist us with the interviewing process. And lastly, Mr. Colon already mentioned it, but I want to mention it again too, and I'm sure that the superintendent will go into more detail, but the district did move from a Standard & Poor's global rating from a BBB to an A, and that's a direct reflection on all those people that were here for the last 5 years under Dr. Green's leadership. I do want to comment too, the former CFO, Rebecca Roberts, the current CFO, Heather Jenkins, and Tammy Taylor, and the entire finance and budget team worked relentlessly in getting this rating for our district, and many of them are not in front of you ever. You never see them unless you do walk through the district building and go into their offices, but they're a tremendous support system, and we couldn't have done it without them or the superintendent's leadership. Okay, thank you.
Dr. Green, superintendent's remarks.
Actually, a portion of my remarks, we need to do something that we should have done a little bit earlier. When we presented the award to the communications team for #WeManatee, we wanted to show our latest #WeManatee video. So if we could show it very quickly, it's not very long, and it's about our high school graduations.
Class of 2018, how are you doing today?
It has been an amazing 4 years with you all. 4 years that I hope you choose to remember and appreciate.
When I was walking in as a senior, I seen all my friends that we were going to graduate. So I'm excited to graduate with all my buddies, so we can have a good time.
I wouldn't be here without the support of my coaches, my family, my friends, and just everyone who motivated me to, pursue my dreams.
You see, sometimes I think as seniors, we fail to realize that graduation today is just as big for them as it is for us.
I think the thing I liked the most was marching band. I made a lot of great friends. I got to have a good time and got to play instruments.
Neely, Reese, Yancey.
My proudest moment is that even though I have type 1 diabetes and I missed a lot of school and really struggled with taking care of myself over the past 4 years, I'm doing my accomplishments, I'm getting everything done, and I'm really proud of myself because diabetes is a lot, and I'm here.
Well, one of my favorite moments from high school is me making it to my senior year with no problem whatsoever. And having A's and B's throughout the whole year, and then they invited me to join the National Honor Society, so, I kind of felt good about that.
My favorite memory is meeting them, my favorite people, and, this is the best day of our life right now. Tear, tear.
This right here is a joyful moment. God bless every single one of you, and thank you.
We are the School District of Manatee County.
Join us at wemanatee.net.
And members, that's why we are here. Thank you.
Yes, it is exactly the reason why we are here, and I don't think I will add any additional comments. When you watch that kind of sums up everything we do, whether it is from the boardroom to the classroom, is about that moment for those young people to ensure that they have the opportunity to fulfill their dreams. And it starts with graduating high school, and it's amazing and awesome, the young people that we met on that stage, what they have gone through to reach that milestone in their life, that they're now able to have choices and options about what they want to do with the rest of their lives. And that is the whole purpose of #WeManatee. It's about we are the school district of Manatee County with our warts, our issues, our disagreements. We still are the school district of Manatee County. It doesn't matter. And I know that this school district is going to continue to move forward. And Mike, thank you so much for your team, and congratulations. You deserve that award so much, and we thank the team for all that they have done. And we thank our community for giving us great content to continue to show. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Mr. Kennedy, will you start us off with board comments?
Sure will, thank you. I was glad to see that graduation video finished with Nikki Roblero from Southeast High School, because she gave, if not the best, definitely top 3 graduation speeches from a high school senior I've ever seen. You don't see too many standing ovations at high school graduations from student speeches, but she got one and she deserved it. So I shared it out there on I asked Matt for a copy of just her speech, just for the purpose of being able to send it out over social media so other people could see it. And the reaction that I got back from her was, even not school district people, like, wow, that girl is amazing. And what a story, and what an inspiration, and what a call to action of her, an inspiration for her fellow graduates. So good job, Nikki, and I know you're on to great things. Even though I don't really know you and I've never met you before, but I feel like I know her now. So I was very moved by that young lady. That said, this has been an interesting few weeks with, the transition that we're now going through, and I hope everybody can, rest easy that now we have a plan in place for the summer and for going into the next school year, and the uncertainty is gone. And while it, not really for me necessarily, but I know there's uncertainty there, but now we can all just take a breath, get ready for the next school year. And while it can be trying, I'm still very proud to be in this position and to represent this school district, and to, I'm not always perfect, but try to represent our teachers and kids. And this process was a little bit of both. You kind of got the stress, you got the positivity at the end, and or throughout, really, because you hear good things about people that you don't normally have an occasion to hear about. So on that, I'll finish with the intersection of race, gender, and politics, and maybe I'll throw in some. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Minor.
Oh my gosh.
I guess I'm up. Mr. Kennedy's remarks about Nikki's speech, I mean, I was crying, and it was, I think it's the best speech I ever heard, and just inspiring to everybody who's there. I'm very proud to be here. I'm very proud. Thank you for this great, video. I think it captures the emotion about what we do and the thrill of it. And tomorrow is Florida School Board Association time for a few days to maybe improve our skills up in Tampa. I look forward, to that. It gives me something to do, and I think we'll find something to do this summer. I was going to ask Mrs. Saunders if she had any plans for this summer, and congratulations. Okay, and that's about it right now, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Mr. Cologne.
I'll try and be brief. Since we all have to be at 7:30 in the morning up in Tampa at the Florida
Not
School.
unless you're on like the board or anything like that. So
Really? Oh, no, they told me I had to be there, so I don't know what's going on.
I told Mr. Cologne.
Oh, you mean I can get there at 9?
you can get there at 5 o'clock. The first.
Oh,
the-
they said
the-
7:30, so I would arrive by
right.
9.
Yes.
Now I understand.
We should have
completely.
cleared that. The actual first event, if you're not a member of the board of the School Board Association, I think is like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock.
That means I missed breakfast? Come on. Anyway, I also was very encouraged by Nikki's speech, and she's been in touch with me, and I've referred her to a couple of people to help with some of the things she's going through, because I think it's important to applaud people, but to also help them, because that's what she needs. She needs support, and we need to support our students that we think have a real shot at going to the next level. We support all our students, but when a student has significant issues that they have to work on, I want to support them as much as possible. So I have to.
That's nice, John.
Unlike Mr. Minor, I didn't break into tears, but I was close. So he's right, and I agree with him in that respect. I also want to congratulate Mrs. Saunders and The Rock, who's back there trying to stay awake, her husband. I think that the partnership of you and Mr. Serrana is going to help move this district forward some more. It will be a good way to segue into the next level. And I can't minimize at all Dr. Green's mentoring of you and Mr. Serrana to bring you to the point now that you can move us forward. And I'm very happy about that. I'm also extremely happy about our A bond rating from Standard & Poor's. You have no idea how big that is for us. For a school district that was on the brink of being taken over by the state of Florida for fiscal malfeasance and mismanagement, it's incredible. I really, really mean that, to move forward like this. And I think that, it's a credit to not just our staff, our administrators, but the union as well, who worked tirelessly with us to help. And I want to thank you for that, Pat, wherever you are. She's sitting out there. I know, I'm kidding. And I want to thank all the people on the audit committee who were supportive, and Mr. Shin, who always kept us on track, watched the finances, any potential missteps, he was there and supportive as well. And I appreciate that. And Mr. Nelson, I'm his favorite trader. So, I want to thank that. Mr. Bliscoe, of course, who's obviously has broad shoulders if he's going to take some more of this pain. So, and of course, the board chair, the doctor, she will definitely be moving us forward and keeping an eye on things. So that's my comment. Thank you very much. I think it was a productive meeting. If we could just tone the rhetoric down, I'd be even happier.
Thank you, Mr. Cologne. Vice Chair Messenger.
I don't really have much to say other than I'm so excited about our A rating. That was like the one comment I had. And also just to thank Mr. Blitzko and Ms. Foreman for signing up for more time on our audit committee. I really appreciate that, and congratulations to a tough woman. I don't know what, you gotta, but we'll get it right. But I appreciate you, so thank you very much. And that's it.
Thank you, and in the coming days, we'll know just what the potential economic impact is of that A rating. It's going to be considerable, as whichever committee or entity we decide to look at our debt and bonds and make recommendations of how we can continue to improve our fiscal situation. With that, I think that commencement was a fantastic experience. I told many people that, after my first 3 or 4 months on the USF System Board of Trustees, I had to go to commencement 3 times a year to remind myself why I'm doing what I'm doing. And likewise, it is an incredible experience to see the product of many years of efforts by this district, and to hear of the next journey that so many of these graduates are going to be on to fantastic institutions of higher learning is just a testament to the work that both the community and the district has done. The improvement in the bond rating is owed to the administration, the community, the voters that approved the tax extensions and tax increases, and the work of all those involved, and the board. Believe me, the Moody's and Standard & Poor's look very closely at governance and accountability, as well as financial factors, and it all plays in it. I appreciate everyone's efforts, and I look forward to our next meeting on the 26th. And with that, we will adjourn. Tell me what time. I don't think.
Whenever you like, just come, because I'm ready.